looks good, and he looks hard.
Jesus, I say that.
What now?
Thanks, Jeff, for the question.
I made a huge, tiny mistake.
You should be ashamed of yourself for having that thought.
For life. Never occurred to me. Interest. It's just crazy enough to work. Yeah.
That's hot.
right now.
I don't want reality.
Have to have my China. Illegal.
Climate and everything are the same word. What? This is from 12 Rules for Life.
What?
Cacao?
So hot right now.
Rid of the Second Amendment.
China. From China, they love me.
There's no point in you betraying your future self to gratify your present self. It's a stupid game.
You should be ashamed of yourself for having that thought.
Well, it's good to see you all once again. It's been 24 hours, and yet, still, quite a great deal for us to talk about. That said, better buckle up, space fams. We may be encountering some amount of turbulence in this journey through the void. See, a lot of faces in here already today. First, second, third went to fresh out the asylum, Selena Marie and Moa Noah. We got Robot Cat, Autumn Leaves, the Anti-Corporatist, Soul Life, Looney Tunes, B-Cat, the Saucy Sea Witch, FG, Mrs. Jen, E-Rock. Am I missing anybody? Normal by nature. Wow, so busy. Barely even started. Bob Carmody, I see you. I see you, pal. Alright, let's get to it. Let's get to it. What do you say? Monday, July 22nd. I guess we'll start in the same place as usual. That being the United States of America. You have 20 likes. Okay. That means... Hold on. 2 support characters. It's gonna be a 14. So, wait, what's that? 13. Alright, well, if somehow you have been asleep for the last 48 hours, we've got a new Democratic presidential nominee, as Joe Biden has stepped out of the presidential race. And with that happening, I figured we'd do a fun compilation here. Seemingly every single news outlet on the planet, not just in the United States, has done some sort of video recently on YouTube showing people reacting to the Biden news. So I figured we'd kind of just go through a bunch of those for fun and go ourselves into what's happening on the streets. Ooh, Princess Monocle redeemed first. I didn't even see or hear that get redeemed. Very strange. Very strange. Okay, let's see. Where do we start here? All right, I guess we'll start with people who are actually in government. Associated Press. Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Trump react to Biden dropping out. All right. Oh shit, it's muted. That's not a good start. There we go.
President Joe Biden's announcement to drop his re-election bid against Donald Trump sent political shockwaves throughout the country, and Democrats praised the move as putting his country and his party before himself, while Republicans ramped up their attacks, calling on him to resign from office. Vice President Kamala Harris was endorsed by Biden to succeed him as the presidential nominee and wrote in a statement that she intends to earn and win her party's nomination. Big-name Democrats like former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton thanked Biden for, quote, all he accomplished standing up for America time and again, with his North Star always being what's best for the country. They added that they were honored to join the president in endorsing Vice President Harris and will do whatever they can to support her nomination. Former President Barack Obama, in a similar note, called Biden, quote, a patriot of the highest order, but notably did not immediately endorse Harris, instead pledging to support behind the eventual party nominee. Former President Donald Trump reacted to the news in a post on his Truth Social website, saying, quote, we will suffer greatly because of his presidency, but we will remedy the damage he has done very quickly. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson took it further, saying,
how do you remedy damage, that much damage done in such a short period of time? My God, he has so much confidence. Maybe it's not that much damage. Weird. Wait, what was I going to say? I had something else, but I got distracted by Truth Central just now. I had the whole RNC to bash Joe, and now they pull off the old switcheroo unfair and rigged. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, let's see. A very, very normal guy here. RFK Jr. had words to say for Biden after finding out that he'd dropped out of the race. What's old Bobby Jr. got to say?
I want to begin by commending President Biden for a career in public service, for a long, long career in representing and serving our country, and for his handling of many difficulties and challenges, personal challenges and tragedies that he suffered during his life with so much admirable conduct, and the empathy that he derived from those experiences, that he was always proficient at showing to the rest of us.
Wow.
I think, Kamala.
Such strong words. I mean, not said strongly, but wow. Proficient? From RFK Jr. My gosh, such a complimentary word from Robert here. Write a sentence that contains no vowels. Wait, what? That's not. Nightbot, you broke the no vowel rules immediately. The first letter was a vowel. I know Nightbot can't hear me, but wow, just bad, really bad. Yeah, RFK's out here saying very nice things about Joe. Let's see what some other people have to say. Next one.
I applaud President Biden's decision. I think I've said in the past, only he can make that decision. And yeah, if he believes that this was what he needed to do, I fully support his decision. We thank him for his service and his endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris, who I believe will be an excellent President of the United States, who I'm going to encourage Pennsylvania delegates to support. I've talked to state chairs from across America, and I've seen nothing but overwhelming support for the Vice President. Pennsylvania's delegates will all still be able to participate in the convention. There will be rules adopted, I believe, next week. Those rules will set forth the process.
Okay, so yeah, not only is this guy supportive of Joe having stepped out, he's also stoked. By the way, that's the Pennsylvania Democratic Party chair. Oh shit, what is this guy's name? I forget. Yeah, he is encouraging the rest of the delegates in the DNC to vote Kamala Harris. Seriously, there's like 20 react videos here. Everybody had to get in. Everybody had to tell us how they felt about this. Here's Mark Hamill, Barbara Streisand. I just said that like it was one person. Two people.
I know I'm not a young man. State the obvious. Well, I know.
What is this? Associated Press? Who made this? This is what he is. Oh my god. These guys. Is this real? Is this real? Okay. I see what they've done. They literally... This is the Associated Press's job now. Just posting Twitter feeds. Hilarious. Zero context. No commentary from the organization. Just here's what Barbara Streisand said on Twitter. Joe Biden will go down in history as a man who accomplished significant achievements in his 4-year term. We should be grateful for his upholding of democracy. All right, thank you, Barbara. Wait, Barbara? Is that how she spells her name? Is this a fake account? Hold the phone. Wait a second. Wait a second. You know what? Elon Musk ruined Twitter. I stand by that statement. The fact that you can pay for a blue check mark now is ridiculous. I don't even know if that was actually... Here's George Takei. I want to honor our President Joe Biden. He's served our nation as admirably for decades. He's a decent and honorable man, a hugely successful president and a patriot. Now let us unite behind Kamala Harris and defeat Donald Trump in November. Okay. Thank you, George. Is that how she spells it? Okay. Alright, that makes me feel better. Mark Hamill. Joe Biden has a record of accomplishments unmatched by any president in our lifetime. He restored honesty, dignity, and integrity to the office after 4 years of lies, crime, scandal, and chaos. Thank you for your service, Mr. President. It's now our duty as patriotic Americans to elect a Democrat who will honor and further your legacy. Well, you heard it directly from Luke Skywalker, so that is, especially around here, that's going to hold some weight. Some galactic weight, if you will. Okay. Well, thank you for the rockets, Choki. Much appreciated. What's next? Oh, okay, let's look at some regular peeps. A bunch of regular peeps. I mean, I am not kidding. How many different news organizations do we have just hitting the streets and asking people here? Let's see, 1, 2, we got Associated Press, Global News, Reuters, TRT, even TRT World's got. Okay, TRT getting in it. Guardian News, News 8, WROC. Basically every channel on the planet is asking people how they feel. Let's start here.
Not surprised, but not shocked.
I was neutral, actually. I was pretty neutral. You know, I believe in him and his wisdom and his ability to make a good decision for the country.
I'm still very frightened about what would happen if Trump gets reelected. And even if I were I started off in my younger days as a Republican. And even if I was a Republican today, I don't think I could back him. He's just a horrible person. You know, it's not a given that Kamala Harris is going to be the nominee. If she's not, then I think there's going to be more bad blood within the Democratic Party.
Let's see who she selects as a running mate, as a vice president. So I'd be into really looking at about that, because we need to have someone to be strong. And so a woman can be strong just as a man, so let's go. Let's do it. So
I thought Trump was going to beat him up, and he did. It's not pretty. And Joe is a great president. He's been a great president, and he's gotten a lot done for our country, but he's too old. He's not articulate. He's not articulate. He's not a good...
This guy in the back with the 80s Tom Selleck mustache. He said he's not... I could barely hear him say it, but he did, in fact, say he's not articulate.
Messenger for the Democratic Party.
I'm rooting for Kamala. Love to see a female up there, you know, and I think Kamala's incredibly sharp.
Sure.
Speaks well. I think that she's ready. She has some really solid experience behind her.
I think it's very surprising news. Definitely not something I personally saw coming.
Ah, well, you must not have been paying all that much attention then. Not gonna lie, Brittany Lefebvre. At least I think that's how you say that name. This guy calling Joe too old. Rude.
How rude.
It's also kind of true. Okay. But yeah, people have been bringing this up a lot already. And we will definitely be talking about this more. But the process has not yet been decided. And there are definitely some parties out there calling for a contested Democratic National Convention. Not going to get to that quite yet. Still got a bunch more regular Americans to listen to. That was Associated Press. Let's see what Global News has for us.
Well, after a disastrous debate performance at the end of June.
Love to see Michelle Obama run for office. There's a few other candidates. There's a few senators who I absolutely think would be great for the nominee. I just think at this stage in the race that Kamala Harris is our absolute best shot for putting someone competent in office.
I would pick Kamala Harris, definitely. Just because it's something different.
I hate to say this, but I think she might be biased on this one. You see her last name? Harris? I'm just messing.
You know, we still have not had a woman president yet. So what better opportunity now for that change to happen in this day and age? And plus, you know, representing, African American, being a woman, I'm all for it.
Well, like I said, I voted for Kamala in the beginning.
Damn.
I wanted her to be the nominee. So now that she is, or will be, I'm not unhappy. She's not.
Yeah, you're not unhappy. No kidding. You're also like a diamond in the rough over here. How did they find this guy? He voted for Kamala Harris, and I guess what would that have been? The 2020 primary.
To speak loudly. She's not the quiet black woman. And, you know, that's what we need right now.
I do think that there's bias out there. There's no doubt. There's racism, there's sexism. But right now, we did it before with Barack Obama. No one thought that someone with his name and a black man could get elected president, and look what he did. And we're at a place in our country where people want something new and fresh. They want someone who can do the job. Kamala is both tough, but also she is a woman, and she's been out there on abortion rights, making sure that we can keep our rights as women to be able to make choices with our own body. And we just are going to I think that there's so many young people that are totally great with having a woman president.
I'd vote for Kamala. I mean, I really would like to see what she's been doing behind the scenes, but I would vote for her. I mean, she seems like she's for the people.
And the fact is that I think that, well, yeah, I mean, that's not fact. But I definitely think that Kamala Harris can, in fact, make very clear arguments, much clearer than Joe probably is capable of, as it relates to that specific topic, that being women's reproductive rights, healthcare, those sorts of things. And we know that she can definitely hang tough. Like, if you watch any of her, what do you call it? Like, any of the like Senate hearings that she was in, where she was grilling people like AG Barr, or like when they did the like Kavanaugh hearings, things like that. She is very good at what do you call it? Like questioning witnesses, I guess, which is the exact same sort of thing that you want in a debate, which is really what I want to see her in, right? Is her and Donald Trump. I'm pretty sure she's going to mop the floor with Trump. If the Trump campaign allows for this next debate to happen, I think it's going to go real bad for them. Not going to lie. Okay, there's so many of these today. This is ridiculous. We have to hear from every American, okay? This is important. one by one.
Tell me, what did you think about the news that Biden's stepping out of the race?
It was surprising, but definitely
it was the right thing to do.
It was the right choice and a good choice. I think that he's on his way out anyways, so.
But you know, he had one term. Like, be happy with that. Give somebody else a shot. You know.
Do you think this will give the Democrats more of a chance to beat Trump?
Oh yeah.
I should
100%.
hope so.
Yeah, 100%. Because yeah, definitely will give him a better shot.
I have mixed feelings about it, to be honest with you.
I feel like a lot of the young people are excited about this, whereas maybe I feel like maybe the slightly older crowd seems a little bit more reticent about this decision. But it's not like he got kicked out. Nobody can actually force him to not run, right? It was Joe Biden's decision, 100%. I mean, he made that clear over and over to us again. That it was basically between him and God, you know? So,
You know, on one hand, you know, I think he could have stayed in the race a little bit longer.
a little bit longer.
But
I don't think this guy... Now, we didn't get any sort of background in this individual. I don't think he's a very politically savvy guy, not gonna lie. Could have stayed in the race a little bit longer. There's 4 weeks until the delegation, genius. If anything, he should have gotten out sooner to give people more time to figure out what to do, rather than having sort of a 4-week clusterfuck happen. But hey, this beard, for whatever reason, doesn't strike me as being... I'm deadlocked in here on the on the election with all focus. Maybe that's just
seeing the debate
that's unfair
and hearing what other people were saying about him, I think it might be a good move for what he's doing. Some fresh blood. Harris polls well against Trump, so I think she has a real shot at winning.
I'm nervous. I hear so much animosity toward her, you know, around the workplace, which is more conservative. But, I mean, they weren't going to vote Biden anyway, so it's going to be interesting. I
don't know why this makes me laugh so much. I think it's because of just how many of these videos I have. Like, you can see in the title here, it says U.S. voters react. I literally found, I don't know, like 24 videos saying exactly that, all put out by different news organizations, all with different interviews. But it just seems like, especially in this particular situation, they were literally just walking through the forest asking anybody, oh hey, you over there. This guy is just sitting in a hammock drinking a beer. Hey, you guy, what do you think about Joe Biden dropping out of the race?
I'm voting for whoever isn't Trump. And I wish I was more excited, but I'm still nervous.
I think she reminds me of like an auntie, like at the cookout or something. I don't know. Like she's a very like likable person. Seems like she does have like a questionable like I don't know like time as the attorney, like putting people in jail for like smoking marijuana and stuff like that.
Shit.
So it'd definitely be something that I'm gonna think about moving forward.
If it was in between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, I would vote for Trump.
Me personally, I'll stay where I'm at, in the middle.
I would pick Kamala Harris, definitely.
What's in the middle mean to that young man? Does that mean he's voting for RFK? I'm confused.
Bangladesh's
It's a binary
Supreme
choice.
Court
Whoa.
on Sunday scrapped most of the
What
quotas
just
on
happened?
government jobs
Hey.
that had sparked deadly student-led
Bangladesh.
protests, killing at least
First off.
114 people in the south.
This is not time for global news. How dare you? I think I clicked that goddamn end card, didn't I? Oh, YouTube.
Tell me, what did you think about the that Biden's stepping out of the race?
It was surprising, but definitely...
Okay, all right. Trump did make sneakers. I assume that he didn't make them with his own hands. But yeah, those horrific golden sneakers. That's the problem, meeting insanity halfway. Yeah. How does Nightbot know what Haktua means? Well, My pod has access to all the information out there in the world, seemingly. There's so many of these goddamn React videos. It's hilarious. We're skipping some of these. It's just so... Oh my god. Let's go to this one. This is TRT World. That's right. Turkey. A Turkish news outlet asking U.S. voters.
We're in New York right now. President Biden has just announced he will no longer be running for president in the 2024 elections. Let's see what the American public thinks.
Disappointment and sadness. I think he's been a great president, and I was looking forward to another 4 years. I understand that there are a lot of problems in politics that have nothing to do with your performance.
I have been waiting for this news for a couple of weeks now. I'm so excited that this race will be a little bit more competitive. I think that Biden was going to have a tough time winning, and we need to have this race be an opportunity for a decision between real candidates.
I just heard the news about...
And that guy seems to have been paying attention. He's been thinking about it for weeks. That's where we've been at. That is where we have been at. It's been like, Jesus, over 3 weeks now. Almost 4.
Biden dropping out, you know, it's a little unfortunate, but I think, you know, I just hope the best for my country.
President Biden just dropped out of the race and endorsed Kamala, and I am so here for it. I am so here for it.
She seems very here for it. Okay. Oopsies, what just happened? The cadaver in chief. Oh boy. Let's skip past Guardian news. We don't need to watch every single one of these React videos, do we? Just something about it is fun. And it's hilarious to me just how many of these got made. It really is. I literally have like 20 of these videos. I skipped some too. Alright, let's go on to... Let's go to this one. This is people in Scranton, Biden's hometown. Who the media, of course, had to ask how they felt about Joe Biden leaving the race. Why wouldn't they?
I think it was a smart move and a smart decision on his part to step aside and kind of let somebody a little bit younger, more vigorous go up against somebody like Donald Trump. I think he's probably being pushed out, which kind of makes me a little bit sad because I think he's a good man. I think he's a good father. I think he was a very good leader. But I do kind of also agree that his...
It's a weird stance to take. He thinks he's being pushed out. Like, we've heard this multiple times. But once again, Joe Biden is the only one that can step out of the race for Joe Biden.
His time has come, and it's time to step aside and let somebody, somebody rise up within those ranks.
He's not in shape whatsoever to be making the presidential calls. So for what it is, I personally think it's a good thing. I can only hope that, the Democratic Party finds someone who's of a better fit.
I'm shocked, but I'm also very concerned about his health and well-being, and I feel like I don't know if anybody's really taking that seriously. I feel like they need to really look at that, because I don't think that he has everything together that he had,
Yeah. So it seems like even people from Biden's own hometown are pretty supportive of him stepping down at this point. Yeah, yeah, that's why I thought I would keep this one in, BCat. All right. Let's stay in Pennsylvania and listen to some other Pennsylvanian voters on their thoughts.
Matt, there are really key three issues for the Democrats moving forward when it comes to a swing state like here in rainy Pennsylvania. Firstly, enthusiasm for Kamala Harris. We've been speaking to people who say they're not convinced by her yet, but the party thinks that she can rejuvenate a flagging campaign. Secondly, if Kamala is the nominee, who balances out the ticket as her running mate? What do you offer swing voters that contrasts to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, two men cut from the same MAGA cloth? And thirdly and finally, if you do all of the above, does that shift the narrative that instead of talking about...
He was pressured, though. I doubt he would have left if Pelosi hadn't called him out. No, I'm not saying he wasn't at all pressured, right? I think there's a difference between being pressured and being pushed, right? Because, like, I feel like the verb push sort of suggests that somehow he was, like, ousted. That he was, like, literally forced out. But in the end, it still was his decision. Yeah, of course, there was absolutely some amount of pressure coming from his political peers. Hold on, I'm sorry, I'm just getting ahead of this because we don't need to listen to this whole breakdown of everything. Let's listen to this guy in a pickle costume. What's he got to say?
Pickles are great. You got bread and butter, you got dill, you know, all the types. They're just absolutely incredible. And you got pickle margaritas.
2 dillies. At the annual Picklesburg Festival, as the cocktails flowed and the news filtered through, there was a sense of relief that Biden had decided to leave the race.
A good decision.
You think it's a good decision?
A great decision. Yeah.
He's just too old. I mean, both of them are too old, but he really is too old. I think it's good that he stepped down.
Obviously, he is older, and I'm sure he has some health concerns, but he's not a malignant narcissist.
I don't think it was a terrible presidency, but I don't think it was the best.
I'm very much a Democrat, a liberal, so I'm hoping whoever they decide to push forward can defeat him. He who must not be named.
He who must not.
It was
be
places
named.
like here in Allegheny.
Okay, all right, cool. So glad that every news organization did at least one of these videos. What would we do without all these react videos? Who is emoji? Is that I think it's an eye emoji, right? Del Sol Verde is eye emoji. BCat is right. He was the most progressive president, certainly of my lifetime, as it relates to American domestic policies. Didn't have a ton of competition in that way, I'm not gonna lie. but yeah. Alright. Now let's listen to some leaders around the world responding to Joe Biden's dropping out of the race first. Let's start in Canada.
What are your thoughts on Joe Biden dropping out of the presidential race and the likelihood of Kamala Harris becoming the new Democratic nominee?
Thanks so much for the question. Yeah, first off, I want to just underline that President Biden has been, as many have said, probably one of the most pro-worker presidents in a generation. One of the first to show up at a picket line to support working people, but also looking at his policies, really committed to making sure any investments at the federal level are tied to good jobs. He's been very clear to say union jobs and good wages, something that we also fought for. In first of its kind in Canada, we've got tax credits that Charlie Angus and our team were a big part of fighting for tax credits that are directly tied to good wages, prevailing wages, tied to good jobs and apprenticeships. That's something the New Democrats believe. We don't believe in giving away blank checks to big corporations like conservatives, like Harper did, for those corporations to take that money, shut down shop, and leave the country.
Okay, the rest of this he kind of gets lost in the Canadian weeds, if you will. Yeah, he supports Joe Biden's decision, but thinks that he was a great president domestically. I gotta say, there have been a ton, just an absolute ton of compliments going Joe Biden's way lately. Ever since he dropped out of the race, everybody's like, "Oh, Joe Biden, you were so great. So great. So glad he dropped out." we do have good weeds up here. Ooh, look at that. Cannabis joke. Well played. Well played. Let's go to this from the AP. Reactions from Paris and London after Biden exits the 2024 presidential race. I think this is regular people on the street again.
I'm personally just in shock. I learned about it probably 30 minutes ago. So I don't have a whole lot of thoughts, but it's more just I've been trying to do some research on like what's going to happen after and who would actually replace him. But that's kind of where I'm at.
He should have given more time and respect the wishes of quite a few of his colleagues to drop sooner if he intended to do so.
It's actually one of the smarter comments we've heard this entire time. We've heard a lot of comments at this point. But that very skinny dude on the right just now, who said he should have dropped out sooner to give the Democrats more time, I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. And he said it very succinctly. He was like, yeah, geez, if you're going to do this, you should have probably gotten the fucking ball a little sooner.
I think Trump has a very good chance of winning, yes.
I would love to see Kamala win. Really and truly. I think it's time. That's the way I would feel.
I think she's right.
And I think she'd be a good president.
Oh. Well done, Omegastar, for getting in there third on Twitch. I don't know exactly what she meant by that, but I think she meant to finally get a woman president in America, because we've gone how many years again without one? Well, it wasn't even possible, I think, technically, until more recently, but what, like 250 or so years, something like that?
I'm glad to hear it. I have a great deal of respect for him and what he's done, but I think he's lost the confidence as a leader. Even though he might know what he's doing, I don't think he can galvanize the will of the people. That's very important at this time. So I think he made the right choice.
Okay. So those are people in Paris in the UK on the streets. Seemingly a bunch of Americans, aside from a couple of Irish women hanging out on a bench. Now let's go to this. Associated Press from 19 hours ago. Leaders of Australia and Japan react to Biden dropping out. So many react videos.
President Biden has been a great friend of Australia, and that will continue. And I look forward to meeting with President Biden at the G20 and at the APAC summits that will be held later this year. President Biden deserves today, I think, to be recognised for once again not putting himself forward first, but giving his first consideration to being what he believes is in the interests of the United States of America, as he has done his whole public life, and I pay tribute to him today.
と表明しました。同時にハリス副大統領を候補として支持するとも述べています。
The question you have to ask, that you've asked has to do with American domestic policy, which I refrain to comment on directly. Either way, I recognize that Biden made this decision with the desire to make the best possible political decision. That statement was the most political statement of the evening so far. Jesus Christ. He'll be missed at the APAC conferences. God damn. Okay. So that was the Australian president and Japanese president. Wait, prime minister? I always forget. I always forget who's got a president or prime minister. It always feels the same to me, but I know it's not. Let's go on to this from NBC News. World leaders react to Biden's decision not to run for re-election.
With global reaction to President Biden's historic decision to not seek a second term, a seismic decision that comes less than 4 months from Election Day. NBC News international correspondent Claudio Luvanga is in Rome. Joins us with more on this. Claudio, good morning. Give us a sense of how world leaders are reacting to this news that President Biden is stepping aside.
Good morning, Joe. Well, let's start here in Italy, where the foreign minister Antonio Tajani said that Italy will work well with whoever is chosen as president, because he said that the strong relationship between this country and the United States does not depend directly on the president or the president's party. Let's go to Canada, where Justin Trudeau said, and I read, "I've known President Biden for years. He's a great man, and everything he does is guided by his love for his country. As president, he is a partner to Canadians and a true friend to President Biden." And the First Lady, Justin Trudeau, said, "Thank you." Now let's come back here to the country, to Europe, where a lot of European leaders have paid tribute to President Biden, including Olaf Scholz, who's the German chancellor, who said that Joe Biden has achieved a great deal for his country, for Europe, and for the world. And let's end this little tour of the world with reactions from Japan, where Fumio Kishida said, "I recognize that President Biden made the decision from the standpoint of what was best politically." Needless to say, he said,
Heard any kind of response either from Russia or Ukraine this morning?
well, we heard the response from both, Christine. Well, now, as I mentioned earlier, the Italian foreign minister said that the relationship between Italy and the United States doesn't depend on.
They are. Narwhal is totally on with this right now. They are acting like he died. They are absolutely acting. A lot of complimentary sort of statements that you would give, you know, your late grandparents or something, you know. And it's odd. It's a weird feeling, not gonna lie. Okay. Oh god, we got to the worst one. This one's probably gonna make a fair number of people in this chat be a little irate, because this is just a reminder of a number of things all at once. But we must we must look at them all. I demand that we do. Here's NBC News from 10 hours ago with footage of Benjamin Netanyahu outside of the plane which he was about to board to fly to the United States in, but before doing so reacted to Biden's decision not to run for re-election. We have 32 likes. Oh shit. 5 support characters already. I know 2 of them are rollovers, but wow. Y'all are killing it today. That's another 3. We can't have 2. We can't have 2 Captain Planets. Oh, that's a 20. That's a buddy Jesus right there.
I'm leaving this morning on a very important trip to the United States at a time when Israel is fighting on 7 fronts and when there's great political uncertainty in Washington. Regardless who the American people choose as their next president, Israel remains America's indispensable and strong ally in the Middle East. I plan to see President Biden, whom I've known for over 40 years. This will be an opportunity to thank him for the things he did for Israel in the war and during his long...
Oh, God, it's making me upset. Him saying that he's coming to America to thank Biden for everything that he did in the quote-unquote war. It's making me feel sick inside. A little bit. I really wish he wouldn't get on this plane, but he already has. This was 10 hours ago. And it is a 17-hour, if you take a direct flight from Israel to JFK or wherever he's going. So, in a short period of time, he will be on American soil, you would assume, considering how time works. But it's just, you feel complicit? Yeah, I get that feeling. That feeling too sometimes with all this.
And distinguished career in public service as senator, as vice president, and as president. It will also be an opportunity to discuss with him how to advance in the critical months ahead the goals that are important for both our countries. Achieving the release of all our hostages, defeating Hamas, confronting the...
Our hostages. Oh, that's right. There's Americans being held hostage. Those hostages that Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't care about at all. All right, let's move on from this terrible human being. Sorry to have caused either your eyes or ears distress just now. Don't make the news. I just curate it. The man should be in a gulag. So true.
Illegal.
So true. Now, here is maybe the most difficult to watch of all. Here is an Associated Press piece from 6 hours ago of Palestinians in Gaza reacting to Biden dropping out. This is the final World React video. Felt like the right one to end with. Oh, wait. I just remembered I'm definitely going to have to translate, which means I have to turn the volume down. There we go. All right. Go. The news that matters the most to us today is the end of the war. Biden withdrawing or staying in power are things that aren't very important to us. These countries have no credibility. These countries are major world powers, right? But they have no credibility when it comes to us, the Palestinian people. No credibility whatsoever. The news that matters to us now is the end of the war. That is the most important news. When will that news come? It doesn't make a difference to us anymore whether it's him or someone else. Nobody's looking at our issues and nobody's showing us any mercy. When one person leaves, a worse one comes along. A worse person. Nobody's looking at this issue in a way that would satisfy God. Each one of them is worse than the other in dealing with the Palestinian people since the creation of the Palestinian state. Someone bad leaves only for someone worse to come in. This is, you've heard that sentiment twice now. Seems like a vibe. Yeah, and I wouldn't blame Palestinians for being as pessimistic as they are about and or completely detached from whatever sort of political things are happening in the United States, they do make a fair point. American foreign policy has been pretty one-sided in the region. Okay, now, I figured, now that we've seen the reaction of what feels like the entire world to this news of Biden's having dropped out, I figured we'd talk a little bit about what an open convention would mean, whether it's a good idea. And I think the first... Actually, wait. No. Let's do this in a different... Let's do this in a different order. I feel like I just set you up for something. But I think we should watch this one first. It's 420, just finished rolling 2 joints. That's what's up. All right, let's go to this. CBC News, Trump's team are the most unhappy people in the United States after Biden drops out. Okay, let's hear about that.
We're continuing to follow this news, and we're going to get some more reaction on this from former Republican presidential candidate and former Congressman Joe Walsh. We've reached him in Washington. Thank you very much for making the time during this breaking news scenario that was, I know, unexpected for many. What's your reaction to this? Were you expecting this today?
I was expecting this today or tomorrow, certainly by early this week. Look, now it's game on. Now it's let's go to it. What we know is there are more people in this country who oppose Donald Trump than support him. I supported Joe Biden because I opposed Donald Trump. But as long as Joe Biden was in the race wouldn't be about Trump. It would be about Biden and his age. Because of what Joe Biden did today, now that will change.
How do you think that this is going to affect the way that the race goes forward now and the prospects for the Democratic Party?
One word: enthusiasm. Enthusiasm. Look, the ugly.
Hold on, sorry. I forgot how long this video is. I watched it 2x because I find this guy kind of annoying. Where is the spot? You know what, screw it. We're just gonna move on. We have too many things to do. Oh, need to hydrate. Thank you for the hydrate, Omega Star. Suffice to say that the Trump campaign is in fact panicking to some degree right now over all of this. They had spent an incredible amount in attack ads on Joe Biden specifically over the last year. They have everything set up to have Joe Biden as the top of the ticket. Now things suddenly change. And I wonder if the reason that they picked J.D. Vance was because he thought that he would, or that the Trump team thought that he would somehow debate well against Kamala Harris. Suddenly all of these calculations, they go out the window, and they're kind of left holding a bunch of receipts for ads that are now pretty much worthless. and a bag in their hand that they have to try and figure out what to do with here. Now, we already saw one of the new attack ads on Kamala Harris. I think we looked at it yesterday. And, well, it had to have been yesterday. And the current thing they're trying to do is to just pin Joe Biden's entire presidential records and anything else that happened surrounding the administration all on her. Perhaps not a shocking tack to take. Will it stick? I'm not so sure. I think a lot of people don't think the vice president does anything in the United States, so I really have some doubts about it, but it could work. I don't know. Either way, I do think this does add a lot of enthusiasm potentially to the Democratic Party right now. But to discuss the Democratic Party in a little bit more depth and the potential of an open election, or open convention in August, seems like a good thing to have a conversation about as to whether or not it would be a good thing, how it would even work. Democracy Now! Had on James Zogby, who we listened to earlier this year, right after the debate, I think, actually. I think he came on Democracy Now! About a month ago and called for an open convention. I think he was the first person that we heard call for an open convention on this channel. And she also had Latasha Brown come in, and they basically argued the two sides of this, the pro and anti-open convention debate.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, War, Peace, and the Presidency. I'm Amy Goodman. That was Oh Yeah by Yellow. We look more now at President Biden's announcement Sunday that he's dropping his bid to seek re-election and what comes next in the 4 months before Election Day. Biden endorsed his Vice President, Kamala Harris, who quickly received the backing of many powerful Democrats. Biden's decision comes just 4 weeks before the Democratic National Convention is set to begin in Chicago. August 19th, we'll be broadcasting live all that week, expanded to 2 hours from Chicago. But the DNC has floated the idea of having a virtual roll call vote beforehand. Meanwhile, the DNC Rules Committee is set to meet publicly online this Wednesday. It'll be live streamed for everyone to watch. To talk more about the steps forward and if there should be an open convention, we're joined by 2 guests. In Washington, D.C., Jim Zogby is with us, longtime member of the Democratic National Committee, former DNC Executive Committee member from 2001 to 2017. Earlier this month, he proposed to the DNC chair what he called an open, transparent, and energizing process for the DNC to choose its nominee if Biden steps aside. And joining us from Atlanta, Georgia, is Latasha Brown, co-founder of Black Voters Matter, longtime community organizer and political strategist.
Hold on. I almost forgot. I'm so sorry, chat. You all deserve that. Buddy Jesus on a raptor with the pride flag. We have to make sure that we have Buddy Jesus on a raptor with the pride flag on both my screen and my backup screen here. I'm so sorry. I don't know how long I let that go, but I just noticed it just now. I can't remember who suggested that. I want to say it was Mitty who suggested that. And then it got built on it like multiple times. It started off with just Buddy Jesus, the character from the Dogma film. And then it went to Buddy Jesus on a raptor, and then somebody said Buddy Jesus on a raptor with a pride flag. At which point I said that is absolutely gotta be in there. Now, there we go. Thank you, Stream Software, for finally waking up. Okay, Back to the democracy now. Back to the democracy now.
I made a huge, tiny mistake.
You both back to democracy now. Latasha Brown, let's begin with you. Your response to President Biden dropping out of the presidential race and almost immediately endorsing Kamala Harris, and what you think should happen next.
You know, I think that he was absolutely courageous and had a lot of integrity in doing that. And I think it's created a whole different kind of energy that has gone in the party. And I think it was a really smart move, the way that I think he made the announcement and separating the two announcements. But what I will say is, going forward, I think this is a moment that the party, we have less than 4 months. You know, we have a major threat to democracy on the other side, as in Trump and the Vance ticket. And so this is a time that I think that we need to be organizing, we need to buckle down and literally go forward, really going into this convention, convention, not necessarily saying that an open process. I think there should be a process that the Rules Committee set in place, but let's be clear. There were 14 million people in the primary that voted for the Biden-Harris ticket. And so
And I think that's the most fair sort of argument for this side. I think to some degree the fact that she was in fact on the ticket. She was essentially the person who takes over for the president if they were to not be able to govern anymore, right? In any number of scenarios.
The full endorsement, and full endorsement of Biden, I don't think that it was just about personalities that why people voted for Biden. It was really about policy, and some of those policies people really want to see supported. And so going forward, I think to really be able to keep down the confusion, the chaos, and when we think about historically where broker conventions have gone, they've not gone very well for the Democrats. So this is the moment to be unified, to actually close ranks, to have a convention that people leave feeling energized and feeling like we've got our boots on the ground, we're ready to go.
DNC member Jim Zogby, your thoughts?
My thought, look, I wrote in the plan that I submitted to Jamie weeks ago. That
You're talking Jamie Harrison,
Jamie Harrison,
head of the Democratic National Committee.
And I still think that an open convention is important for two reasons. One is it will make the eventual nominee stronger. I believe it will be Kamala Harris. I will support Kamala.
You ready for the Kamala Trump debate? Me too. No, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with all your comments. It's going so fast right now. Do I think the GOP and Trump ticket operates on fair grounds? Ever in this particular election? Because I think that's a more complicated answer to unpack than I think the question seems on face value. Because I mean, this makes me start thinking things like electoral college, whatever. But I mean, I guess you could argue that the electoral college is fair because it's the rules, but you know, I have objections to the electoral college as well. We could go in all sorts of directions on what do you mean by fair. It's playing on people's fears and irrational sort of thoughts. Is that fair? I don't know. Who's the arbiter of fairness? Nobody elected me that. Feldo? A bunch of chats here about Feldo. Yeah, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, because it's completely public. You could go back and watch a number of his videos at this point, where I was actively watching his streams and being somewhat loudly critical of some of his recent takes, especially as it relates to this election. And be honest, ever since this happened, I may have gone and gloated on a couple of comment sections. Was that Was that adult and mature of me? No. But I did do it. Not gonna lie.
But I feel that if she went through a process, as she herself has said, she wants to earn it. I think with town halls, with competing candidates, with a chance to air competing views, it will both energize the base, it will create a more dynamic convention, and it will make her a stronger candidate going into the fall. She wants to earn it. I believe she has the right to earn it. I think she will, like I said, be the nominee. I'll endorse her. But I think an open convention is what democracy needs from our party right now. Look, I've been on the DNC for 31 years. We cannot just be props who, because somebody says vote this way, we all vote that way. I think she wants to earn it, and I think we need to respect that and create a process where she can earn it, and where democracy can be shown to be the hallmark of what our party's about. We don't just fall in line.
Practically, explain what that would look like, Jim.
Please.
Well, look, what we laid out was a plan that said that DNC members would nominate. 40 members would be necessary.
Do you know what you're here for? Adrian Vixen just raided with a party of 33. My God, welcome to the Galactic stream. Adrian Vixen, can somebody give Adrian a shout out, please? I guess I'll do it. Yeah, amazing. Oh, thank you for the follows. Franken Panty, Lando M, Lazy Lizards Lounge. Welcome to the Galactic News Network. We are currently talking about the potential of a open democratic convention. This is a Democracy Now! Piece.
For a candidate to be placed on the slate, they'd have to come from all 4 regions of the party. There are about 440 DNC members, and so you would get a very...
Looney Tunes just gifted a tier 1 subscription to Adrian Vixen. Thank you, Looney Tunes. Much appreciated.
Small number. At this point, I don't know if anyone would actually want to get in, but I think it would be a good testing ground for some people who are looking to the future, Governor Shapiro or Governor Whitmer or any others, who would say, yeah, let me put my hat in the ring here, and we'd have 2 televised town halls where the candidates would be asked questions. They would commit to endorsing whoever the winner is, and they would commit to running positive campaigns. We'd have floor votes at the convention. Like I said, I think Kamala would win on the first round without a doubt, but just being on the stage with the rest of what we would call the bench, those other...
Here's the thing. I was more in favor of this a few weeks ago, because we talked about this literally directly after the debate performance that we all cringed at together. And now I am concerned about there being this sort of up in the air thing, because who do we land with potentially? Because I don't think this would include us all going to the polls. At least that's not the way that he seems to describe it. Oh, thank you for the follow, Feisty T. Gray. Almost missed you. How was the stream? For a second there, we had more viewers on Twitch than we did on YouTube. Shocking. I think that's the first time that's happened. Okay, let's listen to a little bit more of this.
Who are in line in the future to be leaders of our party would, I think, be an important visual for the American people. We would not be like the Republicans slamming each other and slashing each other's records. We would be presenting alternate visions or our own credentials. And then at the convention, we'd have this exciting process that people would pay attention to.
I feel like he's being a little bit too optimistic. I know this guy has seen a Democratic debate. It's never just smiles and compliments, right? There's always somebody. There's usually multiple people in there throwing barbs at one another. It's not like it's never been seen before. Hey, thank you for the follow, Dead End Joker. Welcome all of you to the Galactic Stream Nation.
I don't want a virtual vote that's being called for because it's too gimmicky, and frankly, I think people have stopped watching conventions because there's nothing unexpected about them. There's nothing interesting to see. This would be a really dynamic process. It wouldn't be 68. It would be 1960 when John Kennedy won in a fantastic convention that went multiple ballots. I don't think we'd have multiple ballots, but people would say, what's going to...
Okay, I'm going to move this slightly forward. Comradsky, welcome to the Galactic Stream Nation. Okay, what do we do next here? Yeah, let's listen to the other side of this, as it is a debate. Where's Latasha get in here?
For what should happen, what should happen at the DNC. Well, how do you disagree with Jim Zogby?
I disagree because I think that in this idea of she has to earn it, I think that she has earned it. That ultimately
she herself said,
million votes that
she
voted
herself
prior.
said,
there were 14 million that voted for the Biden-Harris ticket just in the primary. And then as we go in the primary, this is the time, I think, for us to really buckle down. It would be the delegates that have already been assigned for the Biden and the Harris campaign, that they would have the opportunity to cast that. That I think that ultimately to go in a convention, that sounds great if all things go exactly as planned. This is not the moment for us to take a risk on having chaos or confusion or someone who actually wants power to jump up and say, well, I'm going to create some confusion, because I think that there needs to be another way forward. This is a moment that we have to defeat Trump. That under no circumstances we have to be unified. I am more concerned about power than I am about a process that ultimately has not gone well in the past for the Democratic Party.
Latasha, she herself, Kamala Harris, said, my intention is to earn and win this nomination.
I am completely in support of her. I understand her need.
Yeah, and we have heard this phrase multiple times. Obviously, it was Kamala who said it, which is why it's being quoted over and over again. But I think it's going to continue to be used as a way to say, hey, you got to earn it. And so it's possible. The more and more that we've gone through things, the more that I think that it's possible that there will be some kind of a contested Democratic convention. This isn't me hoping for it. This is just me saying that I think it's possible right now.
What she's raising, I'm raising as someone on the ground that in 4 months we actually have to do a lot of work, that there will be a lot of tax coming. What I am saying is that in this process, I think it can be simplified. I think that we can go forward. I think the delegates can push their issue. I don't think necessarily a process online is gimmicky. I think that what it does is it streamlines the process so that we can move forward, come in the convention having clarity, so that clarity and no confusion and I think it minimizes the opportunity for chaos.
Jim Zogby, I want to ask you about the whole movement to have Biden removed. The protests everywhere he went were not around his age. The protests were around Gaza and his support and supplying weapons to Israel.
Thank you, Amy.
In decimating Gaza. It is quite something that it just so happens that this week in Washington, Netanyahu is coming, invited by the House Speaker, but then endorsed under a lot of pressure by Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. He will address a joint session of Congress on Wednesday. I want to read from a post by Linda Sarsour, a Palestinian Muslim American organizer who's been very involved in the uncommitted movement. She wrote on Instagram, quote, "They'll never admit this, but Joe Biden became a political liability for the Democratic Party on Gaza, period." The media.
Yeah, and we talked about the uncommitted vote for, I think, at least on a number of occasions, and just how many people actually wound up voting uncommitted in the Democratic primary, which is pretty unheard of, right? And it wasn't quite 10%, but in the places that it was allowed, it was nearly 10% in a lot of places.
Don't say this. The pundits will talk around it, and the party will say it's not the case, as not to offend their pro-Israel donors, but they knew that they could not win states like Michigan, Georgia, Wisconsin, and they had lost big chunks of important constituencies like young people, Arab and Muslim voters, and many progressives. The fact that anyone thinks we are going to believe that one dismal debate performance was the reason they pushed Biden out is just ludicrous and unbelievable. We're smarter than they think we are. This is a small win for our movements. This is because of us, because of you. For over 9 months, you made your voice heard. You organized, you mobilized, you interrupted and disrupted. You passed ceasefire resolutions. You blasted emails and calls to the White House. You testified at local hearings. You occupied congresspeople's offices and college campuses. You posted. You made sure no one forgot about the Palestinian people. And you were clear that Joe Biden and his administration were complicit. So this is what Linda Sarsour said. You're the head of the Arab American Institute. We last had you on talking about the uncommitted vote. One of the first tests this week of Kamala Harris is she is going to be meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Your thoughts on what she should do and what's going to happen with the uncommitted vote at this point, and if you know anything about the protests at the DNC that have been planned. Amazingly, far more protest has been planned, not clear it will now happen, than protests of Trump in Milwaukee.
Well, look, the genocide continues and continues unabated. Areas that were designated by Israel as safe zones are the ones that are being.
Okay, actually, we can't watch all of this right now. But considering how seriously Amy is taking the possibility of open convention is making me take it seriously. I feel like we have to discuss who we might end up with in the case of that, because I think I was saying a little while ago, I feel like it's a possibility that this will actually happen. I think there's some kind of technicality. I don't quite understand quite the ins and outs of it, but I don't think that, even though Joe Biden has now endorsed Kamala, I don't think he can actually just appoint her as the new presidential candidate. I think somehow because they're on the same ticket, him being the top of the ticket, him stepping out, essentially, there's some weird thing about it, and I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into it more, because now I'm starting to really. Because I've been thinking, literally for the last 48 hours, I've just been thinking K-Hive, Kamala. I'm not saying that I'm getting off that K-Wagon or anything, but the just the uncertainty of all this is making me want to go over all the options. And we'd already talked about doing a Galactic convention at the Galactic UN, so I think we might need to do that. Not today, because I'm not ready to do that. I think I can put it together in like 24 hours. We'll do it tomorrow, chat. We'll do it tomorrow. Write that down.
It's science.
Okay. Because I'm moving so slowly today, we are going to skip past, let's see, a couple of videos. I think we get what's happening. Let's go to this. Some BBC News. This was actually live from Kamala Harris's first public press conference, as she had the NCAA, like representatives from the NCAA, I think student athlete representatives of the NCAA. I think that's how it works. I could be wrong. Student athletes came to the White House, and she decided to do a press conference. Let's watch a tiny piece of that. What is the K-Wagon? I just made it up. Don't ask Schmegley. Schmegley doesn't know.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings. And Linda, I want to thank you for all you do to support these extraordinary...
Maybe it is a thing, and Schmegley does know, and I'm not original. And somebody else said it already, and for that, yeah, I actually wouldn't be shocked if that was true. Fifty-50, really.
Student athletes. And it is good to be here with so many leaders, including, of course, members of Congress, members of our administration, and our extraordinary athletes. Our president, Joe Biden, wanted to be here today. He is feeling much better and recovering fast, and he looks forward to getting back on the road. And I wanted to say a few words about our president. Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap. In one term, he has already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who have served 2 terms in office. And I first came to know President Biden through his son, Beau. We worked together as attorneys general in our states, and back then, Beau would often tell me stories about his dad. He would talk about the kind of father and the kind of man that Joe Biden is.
So yeah, I watched this whole thing. It is mostly compliments for Joe Biden, not gonna lie. It's an 8-minute speech about how great Joe is. And we're not gonna watch the whole thing, don't worry. It sounds like she's lit. God damn, that's a lot of rockets. Thank you for the rockets, MIDI doctors, Moanop and BCAT. Appreciate you. Del Sol Verde as well with the rockets in chat. Why is everybody? So many rockets. I'm overwhelmed with rockets right now. It's an embarrassment of rockets is what that is. Alright, let's go on to another Democracy Now! Piece. This was from directly after, I think, directly after that interview with James Zogby and Latasha Brown. This was Mehdi Hasan. You might be familiar with him. Former MSNBC pundit turned YouTuber.
President Joe Biden announced Sunday he's ending his campaign to seek re-election in a move upending the presidential race just 4 months before Election Day. In a letter posted Sunday, Biden wrote he was stepping aside, quote, in the best interests of my party and the country. Biden endorsed his vice president, Kamala Harris, who quickly received the backing of many powerful Democrats, but could still face a challenge for the party's nomination. If elected, Harris would become the first woman to serve as U.S. president. She made history in 2020 when she became the first black person, first person of South Asian descent, and first woman to be elected vice president. The 81-year-old Biden faced tremendous pressure to drop out following a disastrous debate with Donald Trump that raised questions about his physical and mental health, as well as his ability to beat Trump. Biden announced the decision while at his beach home in Delaware, where he has been isolating after testing positive for COVID. Biden's decision makes Trump, who is 78 years old, the oldest presidential nominee in U.S. history. Questions about Biden's candidacy have been growing since at least last year. The activist group...
Okay, hold on, sorry. You don't need to watch all this. We get, I think most of us know all this stuff she's saying. Let's get to the Mehdi. What do you say?
Nomination. We begin our coverage today in Washington, D.C. with Mehdi Hassan, journalist, author, and editor-in-chief and CEO of the new media company Zeteo. Mehdi, welcome back to Democracy Now! Your response to these historic developments over the weekend.
Thanks, Amy. We really are living through history, aren't we? This is an insane moment in time where last Saturday, the former president of the United States almost got assassinated. And this Sunday, the current president says, you know what? I'm not going to run for re-election. I'm going to do an LBJ.
It's been quite the news cycle, if you will. pretty wild.
It's just
month,
too much
really.
to cover for those of us in the media business. But look, this is actually a big moment for American democracy, not just American political history. Because if Donald Trump wins in November, I am one of those people who firmly believes that American democracy is in existential danger. I believe that he will bring forward an authoritarian plan, a fascistic plan. This is a person who's going to propose a clear and present danger to our rights, our liberties, our Constitution, and therefore beating Donald Trump, regardless of your politics, regardless of what you think of the Democrats, is actually vital. And Joe Biden was on course to be defeated by Donald Trump, and he took the advice, shall we say, pressure from his party, from Nancy Pelosi, to actually do the right thing and step aside. His ego, his stubbornness was getting in the way. He had said, I wasn't going to quit unless the Almighty tells me to quit. Well, I guess Nancy Pelosi is now the Almighty because she led a pretty efficient, effective, ruthless, behind-the-scenes lobbying and pressure campaign, which finally got through to the White House. Remember, Amy, on Friday, his campaign manager was going on Morning Joe on MSNBC saying, no, he's campaigning next week. There's no change in plans. He's still in the race. Sunday, he says, you know what? I'm out and I endorse Kamala Harris. And the endorsement of Harris, which came separately to his resignation letter, he puts the resignation out first, Amy. I'm sure you were stunned like a lot of us were when we saw the letter. Hold on, he's not endorsing Harris. And then 25 minutes later, whatever, in a separate tweet, he endorses the vice president. This is
when I saw it, I kind of had the feeling that he was still going to do it, right? It made sense. It made sense. By the way, I let it get too far. I've reset the Trump age counter. As we know, we can't let it get past the early teens. I think he got all the way to 14 years old. As we know, his mental state is much lower than that.
Huge moment. It's hard to overstate how huge a moment it is.
So you kind of predicted what would happen, Mehdi. Earlier this month, you wrote a piece for The Guardian headlined, Kamala Harris may be our only hope. Biden should step aside and endorse her. Interestingly, the piece begins, I have never been a fan of Kamala Harris. Can you talk about how you came to your position?
So very briefly, I criticized Harris a lot in 2019, 2020 when she was trying to run for the Democratic presidential nomination, specifically around her record in California as an attorney general and as a DA. She did some things, and I've outlined them in the past for The Intercept when I was there at the time, to do with convictions and to do with criminal justice reform, which I thought were pretty right-wing and pretty unfair. And I think there's a lot of issues there with that record from a progressive point of view. Although she also did some progressive things too, and I acknowledge that at the time. Yeah. I wasn't a fan of her campaign, and to be honest, I was right at the time. Her campaign melted down. She withdrew before a single vote was cast in the primaries. But then she got lucky, I think it's fair to say, when Joe Biden decided to forgive her for attacking him on the debate stage and made her his running mate. This time round, we're in a very different world, right? 4 years later. For me, Biden stepping aside was very important because he clearly wasn't up to the job of defeating Trump. And I know people talk about open conventions, contested conventions. I just think that's not going to happen. I don't think it's helpful right now. I think there are lots of legal, financial issues with that. And for me, in early July, it was get Biden out of the way. There's a perfectly good candidate who can beat.
And I think out of all, I think that's one of the better arguments for why she should be the nominee, right? To not complicate this process even further, not just as it relates to the convention itself, but to how to even consider moving all of that money around, because some of it's small donor money, and I think you'd have to get literally everyone's consent. I think that's how it works. If you transfer it to a different campaign, I think you're supposed to either refund it or get their consent.
Trump, by the way, her polling, and that was at the beginning of July, it's gotten better since. Her polling was showing that she was matching Trump. She was doing better than Biden with Trump. She was actually leading with independents, according to a CNN poll. So for me, it was a no-brainer. You've got a younger, more energetic candidate ready to go in the wings, already on the ticket, already won with you in 2020.
Yeah, and she's great. I mean, we just listened to that speech, and I mean, it was just her complimenting Joe Biden, but she did it in full sentences and with energy, and it was just nice to hear somebody who was under the age of 75, speaking clearly and not saying completely idiotic things or suddenly forgetting what's happening. Wow, Donald Trump is already 5 years old. He is aging quickly. What was I about to say, though? There was something else I was trying to do, and I got distracted by that statement. And oh god, I do this to myself way too often. Was it about the money? God. I should be better. Wait, what? Did you just add a new command? Kamala Harris is 20 years younger than Joe Biden. Is that true? So she's 129 years old? Oh my god, she's still very old then. I mean, Nightbot just told me that Joe Biden's 149. Feels accurate, so it must be the real number. Was there more that I wanted from this many interview? I love many, but we can't just sit here having fun all day. It's nobody. It's Sunday. You think Sunday Fun Day just falls out of a tree? That was a Kamala reference. Okay. Actually, I think. No. Wait. No. It's fine. Yeah, actually, because we have. Nah. You'll see. All right. Let's go to this. Because here is another huge reason for why perhaps Kamala is the right candidate. If you're a fan of these sorts of things, this is from ABC News from 7 hours ago. According to them, super PACs are already putting millions of dollars towards Kamala Harris. We heard earlier on that that donors had all basically dried up. So that's a big change. And I actually saw a massive number before coming onto the stream. I think it was like $87 million or something like that. It was wild. It was a huge number. Somebody just followed? Oh, Igloo BC. Igloo BC. Maybe that's what it is. Welcome. Okay. Let's go to that.
That it looks like the in the last 24 hours, Future Forward, the preferred super PAC that previously backed President Biden's reelection bid and now Harris's election bid, is claiming that it has secured commitments of $150 million from donors who were threatening to withhold their donations after Biden's poor debate performance. So it looks like, Selena, the money now coming forward since the president has stepped down from his reelection bid. Kamala Harris is the person that right now Democrats are coalescing around. And now it looks like donors are coming back to the table, or at least super PAC money right now in light of these changes.
Yeah, Kira, I mean, major donors I've been speaking to, they are overwhelmingly relieved. The money had been drying up when President Biden was digging his heels in, but now the spigot has turned back on, and my, oh my, it's been really, really overwhelming. Vice President Harris raising...
The way she's describing this is hilarious. the thing that I'm imagining right now is literally just super PAC officials drowning in money, like just being overwhelmed by money, like so much money that they can't even breathe. Like it's like a cartoonish sort of, like, this is what's in my mind right now. It's just of them sort of like in a room. It's just too much money. I mean, $150 million. I wonder how much actual money that is. Sounds like the nobody wants Kamala talking point is that, well, at least as it comes to donors, that much is apparently clear. You hope they can't breathe literally in Minecraft? Yeah, and that's the thing, is why I mean, the thing is, I wouldn't necessarily go with that same sentiment. Minecraft lives, you know, but what was I saying? Minecraft. I'm just thinking about Minecraft. Oh, right. I don't like praising the super PACs because I hate big dollar donors getting involved in politics. It's really hard for me to be like, yay, this thing that I have definite objections to but is actually important. It happened a thing. Like, that's a weird stance to have to take, but it is where we are in politics. I think we deserve a second go at Citizens United. Not gonna lie. I think the outcome of that just need a majority. That's all. That's all we need. Exactly. Lobbying should be illegal.
Illegal.
Okay, let's go on. It's actually our last story about the presidential election today before we move on to a few other things in the first third. That's right, we measure the show in thirds now. This is from Zateo. That's right. This is why I thought we didn't need to listen to more of that previously, because we got more Mehdi on deck. This is Mehdi Hassan, 7 bits of advice for Kamala Harris. Let's see what he has to say.
Madam Vice President, it's time. Your time. You are most likely to be the Democratic presidential nominee this November. And you're inheriting a bit of a shit show. A party in disarray, behind in the polls, to a fascist. So what are you going to do about it? Well, here are my 7 brief pieces of unsolicited advice for you, Madam Vice President. Number 1, attack, 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 because attack is the best form of defense. You are going to get attacked by them from day one, hour one. They're going to be all over you. Your policies, your record, your voice, your race, your gender, your clothes, your parents. The best form of defense is a good offense. Attack back. Attack hard. Go after Trump's criminal conviction and indictment like the former prosecutor you are.
Interesting take from Mehdi Hassan here. Basically saying, go to the mattresses, Kamala. You're a prosecutor. Get out there and prosecute.
Make the case against his criminality, authoritarianism, and racism against you in a way that we've all seen you do before.
Attorney General Barr, has the president or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone?
I wouldn't.
Yes or no? Have you had any conversation about Robert Mueller or his investigation with anyone at that firm? Yes or no?
Well, is there a person you're talking about?
I'm asking you a very direct question, yes or no?
Oh, and if you debate him, definitely call him weird, like you said you would back in 2018. Number 2, age. Voters had an issue with Joe Biden's mental health and the fact that he was the oldest person to ever run for president. Well, now it's time to remind them about Trump's mental health and that he is now the oldest person to ever run for president. Make his age an issue. Yes, it's a little hypocritical and cynical, but it's still worth doing. Number 3, Gaza. We are long overdue for a reset on Gaza. Almost 40,000 people dead, many of them killed with US weapons that Joe Biden supplied. You were the one pushing the Biden White House to be more sympathetic towards Palestinians. You called for a ceasefire before.
Somehow I missed this particular Politico story.
Did lean into that and try and win back some of those voters in Michigan and Georgia who voted uncommitted on Joe Biden in the primaries. You need them. Number 4, abortion. Lead the charge on abortion in a way that, for multiple obvious reasons, Joe Biden has never been able to. Trump is vulnerable on abortion. J.D. Vance is even more vulnerable on abortion. He wants the police to follow and arrest women from red states who get abortions in blue states. So talk about it all day, every day, 24/7. You own this issue. Number 5, go to Wisconsin. Don't do what Hillary Clinton did. Don't take anything for granted in those swing states. Go to Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania. Be on the ground. Prove the people who say you can't connect with blue-collar, white working-class voters, prove them wrong. And don't just tell those voters what this administration has done. Tell them what you're going to do for them on the minimum wage, on health care, on drug prices. Number 6, pick the right...
Yes, that is so on point. This is so on point. Oh my god. Medi, just crushing it right now. Lead with your uterus. I didn't quite hear it. I didn't quite hear it that way. Maybe I wasn't listening. I wasn't listening hard enough.
To be your running mate. I don't know if that's Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky or Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania or Secretary Pete Buttigieg, but just make sure you pick the right white guy.
Now here's a subversive thought. What if she didn't even pick a white guy? I mean, there are technically other options. Just throwing that out there.
That's going to be really important. And number 7, enjoy yourself. This is going to be the tough.
I'm just saying, AOC turns 35 October sometime in October. I looked it up. Believe me. I looked this up. Like the second week in October. So technically, by election day, she would be 35 and technically electable. So we could get a double woman ticket. Maybe that's too radical. What am I saying?
I mean, this woman is dangerous, lady. 4 months of your life. Have fun. Smile. Offer voters an optimistic message about the future. Be Reagan-esque, but also be real. Be you. Oh, and of course, don't forget to tell them about the coconut tree or what came before them.
Everything is in context. My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all
oh wait, I guess I'll let her finish.
in which you live and what came before you.
Okay, cool. All right, what are we doing next? How far in are we? Wow, we're almost 2 hours in. Oh god. At this rate, it's going to be a 6-hour stream. That's untenable. That is untenable. This is the first third. We still have to do the environmental third and the global half. Global third. Fuck. Can we do these right now? Let's quickly do... We're gonna do one of these. Gotta skip a couple. Just because of time. Let's go to this. CV... Actually, how many... It's really... Well, I could be a second. Fucking hell, whatever. Let's do this one. CBS Colorado from 9 hours ago. Judge backs church in Colorado that sued Castle Rock over homeless shelter. Now, we talked about this, I think, a couple of times. First, we talked about it initially when neighbors made objections. Then we talked about when the church went and sued the town based upon, I think it was First Amendment grounds. But basically, if you don't know about this story, a church in Colorado started housing homeless people in the area. Some neighbors and other people objected. The town then, I think, basically got involved, right? And now a judge has backed that church.
An update on a story we've been following for a while now. A court has sided with a church over a homeless shelter on its grounds. The Rock Church had been sheltering people in RVs on its lot since 2019. They call it their religious duty to help those in need. But the town blocked it, saying it violated zoning laws. In January, the church sued the town. Your reporter, Olivia Young, has talked to people who feel strongly about this on both sides.
As a church, it's not optional, it's actually a mandate from the Bible that we would actually shelter the homeless.
What about my freedom? What about the respect for our zoning law?
What about my freedom? What is this guy talking about? Fucking hilarious. We heard of him earlier too. He seems to be very involved. He's getting in front of the camera way too much. He's obsessed with this. But I would love to be able to ask that guy what freedoms it is that he is losing by way of a church helping the homeless, the unhoused. In what way? I'd like him to list just one. I don't think he could. I'm sure he feels aggrieved, but I'm sure if we were to analyze the specifics of it, it would be pretty clear. I think it'd be pretty clear. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. Okay. Well, I hope everybody's been enjoying the stream so far. If you haven't already, make sure to like and don't forget to subscribe. Really helps out. Now, if you'd like to help out even more, well, I've got a good idea for you there. You can become a Galactic patron on Patreon. For just a few dollars a month, you can get access to a whole host of beautiful space benefits unseen by the rest of the goddamn galaxy. Now for a couple of... There's a couple of other tiers now to Patreon. I've added a new one yesterday due to some amount of requests that allows Patreon subscribers at this particular tier to change their galactic pictures and GIFs once a month, which means that I will, if you so choose, will go in and edit everything, get a new thing in there for you. Now, this could, in fact, I don't think too many people will do this because I've made it just prohibitively expensive. I mean, my gosh. I think it's like $12 a month or something. So, hopefully I won't be completely inundated by requests to change patron gifts, as they do take time, each one of them. Anyway, chat, done with those capitalist messagings. Enjoy this galactic intermission. us to get the second half of the show. It is time for the environmental portion of this show. And that is going to start in Canada. Let's look at this first to transition from regular stuff to the environmental. How a net zero greenhouse helps the city fight climate change. Wait, that's the wrong video. There, yes, that's the one. Okay.
Today we're here at our newly developed greenhouse. The greenhouse is built to grow trees, and a lot of the trees we're growing here are grown from seed collected locally here in Fredericton.
So this is an acorn from a red oak tree. Most of the acorns were collected here in the city. I collected about 10,000 acorns and seeds and whatnot. So yeah, this is how every tree starts. These ones are sugar maple. So again, native to New Brunswick. These were all pulled as seedlings as well from a tree that failed during a storm last year in the graveyard downtown. So it was kind of cool to be able to sort of salvage its genetics and see if we can keep them going for a few years. This table in the center and the first half of this table are all red oak. So there's a ton of red oak around the city. Red oak is native to New Brunswick. Red oak is projected to be resilient to climate change, resilient to storms. So this guy here, like you can kind of see the taproot here and all these fibrous roots coming off the side.
One of the things that helps the city kind of lower its cost and lower its carbon footprint, being able to grow the trees from seedlings up to the size they have now to plant them. Also, it's a very, very large cost saver on being able to do it themselves, and we are able to control the types of trees that were planted and grow them in this climate and local to Fredericton.
The building itself is zero emissions. Our heating system is basically an earth battery, series of perforated pipe and sand under the perimeter of the greenhouse, which captures the heat during the day. And during cooler days or evenings or days where it's overcast, the heating system will reduce or release the heat from the...
Yeah, I think this is a great project, honestly. They're doing it all in as green a possible way as they can. And then simultaneously helping to keep and maintain the biodiversity of the local environment. I think it's a great project. Okay, now on to the rest of the climate news, if you will, the more recent events that have happened. We've been talking about the wildfires happening in BC, the wildfires happening in California, all along the West Coast, honestly. In the midst and or wake of this heat wave that hit the West Coast for weeks. And yesterday we talked about how there's at least 300 active wildfires currently burning in British Columbia. So we're going to stay in Canada and look at one of those. This is Williams Lake, BC. Wildfire out of control, according to local state officials.
Wildfires continue to fuel unease and uncertainty in British Columbia. In one community, the city of Williams Lake, officials evacuated
and 7 hikers are now safe after being rescued near the Fork Fire. The LA County Sheriff's Department posted this video.
What is happening? What in the heck? It's playing 2 videos simultaneously right now. I even know what video that is. Why is this happening? Don't do it again. Will you be good?
Emergency continues. Marianne Demain is on this story for us. So Marianne, this is a truly volatile situation. What's the fire status now as it relates to Williams Lake?
Yeah, and it's been quite the back and forth for residents, too, because those who were told to leave over the weekend, yes, they're back home, but they're still under an evacuation alert. And as we know, that means they have to be ready to go at a moment's notice. Williams Lake, that is a city with about 10,000 people in BC's central interior. Those residents seeing scenes of black plumes of smoke, fire in the distance. That's what they're dealing with right now as they're trying to prepare their stuff in case they have to leave again. Images like this is what they're seeing outside of their windows right now. So that's why they're being told to prepare as a precaution. We know that this fire started over the weekend. It quickly spread. It is now out of control. And this was the latest update from an emergency operations official on the ground.
Tonight about 5:45 we
Okay. So yeah, that is one of the fires in BC, and this one is in fact causing people to evacuate their homes and businesses somewhat abruptly. And that wildfire is completely out of control. Which means that I think it's somewhere between 0 and 10% contained, would be my guess. Actually, you know what? I forgot. This is, all these fires start to blend together in my freaking head, and I forget what I'm even talking about sometimes. I'm totally wrong. At the time, it was out of control. However, 10 hours later, Global News came out with this story. Close call adds community of Williams Lake narrowly avoids catastrophic loss. That's what counts as a cheery title here.
To say this was a close call is an understatement. Behind me is where the fire started last night, and this is where it got to. That behind me there is a gas station. The fire is still smoldering, the danger is far from over, but the community of Williams Lake avoided what could have been a catastrophic loss. The fire sparked in the river valley just before 6 Sunday night, and quickly spread. Williams Lake firefighters jumped in to get a handle on the interface portion of this fire, and BC Wildfire Service hit it from the air.
So yeah, thankfully, BC wildfire firefighters are doing a hell of a job up there right now, with 300 active wildfires. To be just this prepared to get it all done is truly a testament to their efforts. Holy shit. Saucy Sea Witch, you're from Nova Scotia? Yeah, we talked about those very floods. That is horrifying. I hope that everything is good with you over there. Jeez. And those are remnants of Hurricane Beryl that hit Nova Scotia. I mean, I was shocked when I found myself watching that video. Like, wait, Hurricane Beryl came this far and did this much damage? It was only a Category 1 hurricane when it made landfall in Texas. And we saw just absolutely wild devastation from that going through the country. 70% of Canada's firefighters are volunteers. Huh. I did not know that. All right, let's go on down to California. This is from NBC LA from 2 days ago. Hikers rescued from Glendora fire.
And 7 hikers are now safe after being rescued near the Fork Fire. The LA County Sheriff's Department posted this video and also pictures of that rescue. Air Rescue 5 responded because the hikers were on a trail leading to the popular Bridge to Nowhere, and they were too close to the fire.
Yeah.
We do want to begin with breaking news in River.
Wait, don't break news yet. Hold on. Which one is this? Oh yes, okay. So this is a fire happened in Riverside, California, which I believe is east of LA. Hold on, let me look this up actually. Whoopsies, didn't mean to do that. Almost caused an absolute tragedy just now. No, Riverside, California. Am I wrong about this? Yeah, it's East LA. I think it's technically like a suburb. But wildfires broke out here and in a short period of time destroyed multiple homes. This is the first of this.
Where a fast-moving 500-acre wildfire is burning homes. Julia Deng is overhead in News Chopper 4 with more. Julia?
Kathy, fast-moving indeed. This fire was reported just after 1 p.m. today, and already it has burned about 500 acres. Now, you're looking at a home here on Hawarden Drive and Horace Street. Active firefight going on right now. This is one of several homes in Riverside that are burning right now.
That thing is huge.
Evacuation orders.
I think that's a 3-car garage right there.
Have been issued. This is in one of the evacuation zones. And as I zoom out and pan to another home nearby that also is burning and at the center of an active firefight, I want to point out the importance of brush clearance. This brush fire, we don't know the exact cause yet, but because of all this dry brush in the area, the hot conditions, the windy conditions, that certainly is not helping firefighting efforts. We've got about half a dozen aerial resources overhead with us, firefighters down on the ground, but look at this home. I know we see images like this every fire season in California, but this doesn't get easier to cover. I mean, we're talking about a home, we're talking about a family, a community tonight, devastated. Evacuation orders had now been issued for this area. This is chart.
These places have got to be multi-million-dollar homes. East LA, Riverside, these like giant, these fucking giant homes getting burned down right now. Good God. This is adding to that whole, what's it called? Disaster cost sheet, which is in the billions already this year.
Drive and Wyndham Hill, that home that I showed you earlier, Horace and Hawarden Drive. I'm also on Berry Road and Via Vista. We do have a full list on NBCLA.com that we are continuing to update. But again, about 500 acres burning here, here in Riverside. It's being called the Hawarden Fire. We are live overhead at News Chopper 4. Back to you in the studio.
You're right, Julia. Devastating images there. Joining us right.
Okay, thank you. Thank you there, NBC LA. So yeah, and this is just one of many fires currently burning in California. I can't remember the number that we said last time. I think it was like 87 active fires in California right now. But that's like a number from like, I want to say like a week ago or something. Something to that effect. So I can't say for sure if that's the current number. I think this is the same fire.
Families are fighting to protect their homes after a brush fire just erupted in Riverside this afternoon. NBC4's Christian Gassedes joins us live from there tonight. It's Christian.
Well, Jonathan, I can tell you it's been a very hectic day for families here in the Hawarden Hills. This is a community in the southeast portion of Riverside along the 91. It's a community of multi-million-dollar homes, but the fire that we're talking about did force an evacuation earlier this afternoon, and we just learned moments ago it's been downgraded to an evacuation warning. But I do want to show you what the situation looks like right now. You can see that firefighters are still here. They tell me that even though the fire is out, it burned about 500 acres, and now they're working overnight looking for hot spots.
So at least at this time, which was what, 16 hours ago or something, 18 or so hours ago, the fire was out. So that is good. Although you never know with these hot spots. And the community certainly didn't go unscathed. Sure that won't help with people's insurance premiums. Sorry, that's just mean. That's uncouth. I'm sorry. But yeah, we've been talking about insurance premiums, especially as it relates to places like California, where there is a lot of climate disaster related risk for the homes. Yeah, and people's insurances have been getting canceled outright, jacked up, and stuff like this kind of just adds to that. Let's go on to this. This is in the wrong order. No, let's go to this. Yeah. Okay. This is also in California. Along with these fires, and
we do want to begin.
What is partially fueling these fires is the windy conditions.
Families are fighting to.
Oh wait, shit! There's another.
And evacuation warnings are also in place in Corona due to the Eagle fire. Over 24 engines and about 175 crew members are continuing to work on that blaze. The fire there has burned 500 acres.
Jesus.
It is 25% contained tonight.
I can't imagine being the guy in that little
We expected to see hot and windy weather, PG&E.
That like little mini bulldozer with 30-foot high flames behind me. Oh my god. When their billion-dollar homes can't get insured, you're sure that something will be done. Ugh, it really does feel like that's how our society is set up. Only important if it affects the ultra rich. But yeah, that was a completely different fire. So I looked over it because at the time that fire happened, it came out the exact same time as the other one that was also MBCLA, and at the time it had burnt 500 acres. So I'm sure you can see my confusion. It's just too many fires in California to keep track of. Is it my fault? Alright. Now let's talk about one more thing in California. Due to strong winds, PG&E is potentially going to have to shut off power temporarily, according to them.
Now is warning of possible public safety power shutoffs over the weekend. The utility says if the power shutoffs do happen, about 500 customers will be affected. KRON 4's Gail Ong reports now from Livermore.
This is Patterson Road east of Livermore near the Altamont Pass, just one of the areas that could experience a public safety power shutoff on Saturday as hot temperatures and gusty winds are back in the forecast. PG&E routinely looks at weather conditions to determine if shutting off electricity is necessary to reduce the risk of their equipment starting a wildfire. According to the utility, about 500 Bay Area customers in Alameda County and Contra Costa County were notified about a possible PSPS. If that happens, it would take place around 11 a.m. Saturday. Customers are
Now, the fact is that PG&E has been accused in the past of not doing enough to shore up their equipment against the potential environmental things that happen, like heat or wind in this case. I'm not saying it's necessarily the case with this particular circumstance, but it could be. Either way, there certainly are limitations to the power grid, the technology that's used to generate power as well. And so, yeah, could be legit, especially considering how high winds have been in California. I guess it kind of makes sense in my brain. I guess I'm just skeptical of people like PG&E. Not gonna lie. Okay, let's go on to this, which I think is going to be a story that we're going to see more of across the United States as things go on into fire season here. But here's Denver 7 from 12 hours ago. According to them, wildfire smoke from Canada is expected to impact Colorado air quality by Monday. Which is, yeah, a few days from now. Wait, no, it's Tuesday. 5 days from now, I guess.
Time's now 6:41. Wildfires to our north will continue to bring smoke and haze to our Colorado skies today.
Denver 7's Katie LaSalle joining us now in studio. And Katie, air quality is impacted, and smoke could also be heavy over parts of our state.
Yes, good morning to you both. Now, I want to remind you that the smoke is not from fires burning here in Colorado. Fires burning in Canada and over portions of the United States, that's produced a large mass of smoke impacting our air quality and for a big portion of the U.S. The smoke from British Columbia fires continues to mix in with various other regional wildfires to our north and west. And because of our weather pattern and winds from the north, Colorado is really feeling the effects, ranging from light to heavy density. You feel it, you smell it in the air. It's kind of icky out there. Why is this all happening? Well, there's a big ridge of high pressure just off to our west.
Okay, yeah, we get it. The weather systems are sucking down the smoke from Canada to Colorado and different parts of the United States. And if history serves as a guide, especially as it relates to, say, last year, recent fire seasons, we've seen smoke go across the border from Canada to a bunch of different areas. Last year, there were some insane photos of, like, just insane photos of smoke, if I recall correctly. And this year looks like it's off to a very similar start. You bet we could stop the wildfires if we posted the 10 commandments in every forest. One size fits all type solution. I'll put it in schools, fix the schools, put it in the forests. Maybe it'll fix the forests. It could work. It could work. Alright, let's go to this. For a non-Doomerific sort of story here, this is from King 5 Seattle from 2 days ago. Investigation into the Gator of Granite.
The town of Granite Falls in Snohomish County has been on high alert since yesterday afternoon after police posted this photo warning of a 10-foot alligator roaming the area. The search continues tonight, but for a smaller domesticated reptile that's a pet. King 5's Connor Board is in Granite Falls live now with what we're learning. Connor?
Madison, when police posted that a gator was seen roaming this area, of course, people were shocked and people shared that post hundreds of times, calling it the Gator of Granite. But turns out it was not a gator, but an indoor family pet that somehow got out. While most people at Frank Mason Park are trying to catch a fish,
that's why I'm walking back and forth here. He's scoping the bank, so he's around here somewhere.
Shanna Duncan is trying to catch something a bit bigger.
He recognizes Taz and different noises.
The lizard recognizes Taz? Okay.
That has caught the attention of the whole town of Granite Falls.
Some guy drove by and he's like, hey, don't stand so close to the bank. There's supposed to be like a 10, you said like a 10-foot alligator crocodile.
But it's not a crocodile she's looking for.
The Amazon lady stopped me and she's like, there's a gator, there's a gator.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, lady, it's my lizard.
She's looking.
I don't. And tell me if you have the same vibe from this. But when I watch this, and once again watching this now, I get the vibe that this guy is just fishing. She doesn't know him at all, and has just decided now's the time to tell him every detail about this. And he's just like, I'm trying to fish, lady.
It's not a crocodile she's looking for.
The Amazon lady stopped me and she's like, there's a gator, there's a gator.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, lady, it's my lizard.
Tell me that's not a guy who's like, please just leave me alone.
For Taz, her 4-foot-long lizard who somehow escaped her house Friday afternoon.
He's an Argentine white tegu.
She found out he escaped after this picture was posted to Facebook. The Granite Falls Police Department warning people of an alligator spotted in the woods in town not far from Shanna's home. Her son Avery saw the post and told her a gator was on the loose.
I'm the only person I know with a 4-foot lizard.
That's when she realized Taz had escaped.
I say, Avery, I think that's Taz.
She then started letting people know online it was not an alligator.
It's the dreaded gator. Oh my God.
But it was her beloved pet lizard, asking people to not harm him.
He's very docile. You can hug him. He sleeps with my cats. Very beloved pet. So we've had him for 10 years. He's part of the family.
She says
she really loves this lizard. I'll bet she has like a keychain tag that says Lizard Mom. That's the vibe I get from her. She seems fun. I mean, from afar, like maybe from a far vantage point, you might not know it's not a gator. I don't know. Me, I see that. I see monitor lizard. I'm still like, what the fuck is a 4-foot monitor lizard doing walking around in the Pacific Northwest? It's certainly not indigenous to this to this area. I'd certainly be weirded out. I would know the difference between that lizard and a gator.
It's science.
Okay, let's stay in the Pacific Northwest here. This is a disturbing trend, which goes along with all of the other data we've been looking at this fucking year. Here's King 5 Seattle once again from 2 days ago, and according to them, God, I need to rehydrate. I'm struggling with hydration today. Oh no, it's empty. Anyway, what was I saying? Ah, yes, Seattle, where they have, according to King 5 here, they have seen a new record of consecutive days at or above 80 degrees. Right, another record. This is a record going back almost 100 years.
Meteorologist Leah Pizzetti is tracking those fires along with yet another day above 80 degrees for much of western Washington, Leah.
Right, Madison. We've been talking about this. It's a stretch of record-breaking heat. We have not seen a daytime high at SeaTac cooler than 80 degrees since the beginning of July 3rd. And today that continues once again. Here are our current temperatures. It is toasty out there. Olympia still hanging on to 90 degrees. Wenatchee at that century mark right now. Puyallup also broke that 90-degree threshold. So it is warm out there, but these temperatures right now are the warmest we will be. We will start our cool down tomorrow.
So yeah, 17 consecutive, and this was as of 3 days ago now. This was Sunday? This was Saturday. I haven't been keeping up with their weather in Seattle. This is going back to 1945. That's what it says here. Record dates back to 1945, as you can see in this corner over here. And aside from 1 year here, 50 years ago in 1977, where they had 15 consecutive days, all the other ones are from recent past, in the last 10 years. Which is also a little disturbing to me. But it certainly lines up with the data. The very disturbing data, that is. Okay. Let's go on from that.
So hot right now.
Yes, it is. So hot right now. Ansel. All right, let's look at this disturbing report. This is from Global News from a day ago, and according to a new study, global fish stocks could drop by at least 30% worldwide by the end of the century. And I think that's being perhaps conservative.
Fishing is a way of life around the world and crucial to many economies. But a new report from the United Nations predicts an insecure future for fisheries under a worst-case climate scenario.
This is a seminal report. There has never been a report of this nature.
Global researchers collaborated to predict what climate change could do to fish stocks by the year 2100 under two models. One, if emissions go unchecked. The other, if net zero targets are reached by 2050. Under the high emissions scenario, global fish stocks could drop by at least 30% by the end of the century, compared to a low emissions scenario, which predicts a drop of 10% or less.
And there are some countries where the impact is much larger than the average. It is actually, in some cases, up to 50% of the high emissions for particular countries. So it is very significant.
Under the high emissions model, Canada could see an almost 17% decline by century's end. The U.S. could reach 19%, although projections are worse for Alaska at 33.5%.
Also, more importantly for fisheries, we'll see changes.
I mean, Alaska's a huge part of the fishing industry, the seafood industry in general. That would be pretty devastating. Where were we? Okay. Let's go on. Got more stories today. We've already been going for 2.5 hours. We're still just doing environmental stuff. Okay. What else is left? Ah, yes, this. I'm gonna stay in the ocean, but instead of talking about fish, I thought we'd talk about sharks. Nat Geo is just wrapping up their Shark Fest. Let's watch this ABC report.
New at 10, it's the final week of National Geographic's most anticipated annual summer event. We're talking about Shark Fest.
Oh yeah, they're taking us into the waters with the ocean's most fearsome predator for 26 hours of programming. All sharks, all the time, and I'll tell you, sometimes it's a little too close for comfort.
if the shark gets too close, I should hit it in the nose.
Well, you don't need to hit it.
Marvel superhero Anthony Mackie is on board for this Shark Fest, navigating the waters of his hometown of New Orleans, where the apex predators are moving into local fishing waters. Captain America, face to face with a shark, how did he do?
He did fantastic. You know, I think he's a longtime fisherman. You know, when you come face to face with these animals in their habitat for the first time, your heart's going a million miles an hour.
Just the sheer amount of strength that this animal exhibits.
Then you realize just how amazing they are and that you're not on the menu. They're just doing their thing.
Ecologist Dr. Mike Heithaus says that's one of the main goals of Shark Fest, to dispel a few misconceptions.
You know, the movies don't help, but I mean, those are for...
Sharks. Do they report on what to do if you're in an electric boat and it's sinking because the battery's too heavy? You know what? I think that they neglected that very real, non-made-up problem.
But you know, sharks aren't mindless killing machines. And you know how rare it is. There are about 5 or 6 fatalities worldwide per year, but we hear about all of them.
That is massive!
And so Shark Fest should kind of dispel some of those fears and hopefully spark kind of curiosity and passion to help learn more about these and protect them.
So yes, there's education and conservation at the forefront of Shark Fest, but also action and intense adventure. You're giving us some juicy drama bits too.
Oh yeah, there's always drama, you know. It's
Drama, shark drama? Okay. All right, we're going to skip the shark drama, but yeah, sharks. Shark Week. The Earth. All great. All important. Sharks are a little bit more scary than perhaps most things relating to the Earth, but they're an important part of the ocean's ecosystem. I can hear the circle of life in the back in my head right now. Okay, let's well, actually we're gonna wrap up the climate talk here. Actually have a kind of a shorter than normal list today. Only 60 videos to go through today. Already made it through a lot. All right. Let's go to Belgium and discuss how they're planning to deal with both floods and droughts. I've certainly been talking about the Belgian floods recently.
Climate Now, in collaboration with Copernicus.
Copernicus.
Hello and welcome to Climate Now, coming to you this month from Belgium. We're here to find out how the country is preparing for a possible future of double trouble, flooding and drought. Will a master plan be enough to avoid a repeat of this kind of devastation?
We have the obligation to ensure that any kind of intervention is good for both droughts and floodings. Otherwise, it will not work.
That's our story coming up. But first, let's get the very latest data from the Copernicus Climate Change Service.
The planet as a whole just experienced its warmest June on record, with temperatures 0.7 degrees Celsius above the 1991 to 2020 average. Turkey.
You know what's weird to me and frustrates me about this graph or representation of all of his data at once is that it's weirdly deceptive, right? Because they're referencing 91 to 2020 for 30 years, right? If you take out like 2 decades from here, this number is much bigger. And that's the problematic number that we've all been talking about, right? The 1.5 limit, which we just crossed this year. I don't know if it was intentional or just, I don't know. It just felt weird, like a weird way to put it, to do it.
Celsius above the 1991 to 2020 average. Turkey faced heatwave conditions. Greece recorded its warmest June on record, and Cyprus issued a red alert warning for heat. In Western Europe, the month was cooler, and many saw temperatures below average for the time of year. June was wetter than average in the regions coloured in blue on this map. Heavy rain led to flooding and landslides in Switzerland, southern Germany, parts of France and northern Italy. Meanwhile, on the other side of the planet, Antarctic sea ice extent was 12% below average, its second lowest level on record for June.
And so now to our report on how Belgium's facing up to a double climate challenge.
When Belgium was hit by floods in July 2021 following record rainfall, they were devastating and deadly. Here in Pepinster, a village at the confluence of two rivers, the Brasseur family's home was engulfed. This is the same street today. Their property and others have been demolished.
Il faut se rendre compte qu'on avait quand même 5 mètres, entre 5 et 6 mètres d'eau qui sont arrivés au final.
So, hold on. Back. So yeah, this entire section of land right here has been essentially reclaimed. There were houses here. They are, as you can see, no longer there. And it's being turned into a green space. Which is a pretty radical solution, if you ask me.
Se rendre compte qu'on avait quand même 5 mètres, entre 5 et 6 mètres d'eau qui sont arrivés au final dans la rue. Et c'était incompréhensible. Donc on a eu très peur, on ne savait pas ce qui allait nous arriver. On a vraiment pensé même à la mort. Je vois bien qu'il y a énormément de changements climatiques pour l'instant. Et effectivement, les inondations en sont la preuve.
A post-flood climate adaptation plan for the Vesdre Valley, including Pepinster, recommends reducing riverside buildings. Like here, replacing pines in the surrounding hills with leaf trees which absorb more water, and framing agricultural lands with green areas, which has a dual benefit.
If you have more green areas along the fields, it will be good for droughts also, because basically you modify the ground and you leave space for storing water along these edges, and this water will progressively infiltrate the ground.
Further along the valley, in Erpen, nature-based solutions are being deployed to not only help rainwater seep away, but also for cooling. This former riverside square is becoming a park, packed with trees, shrubs and flower meadows. But what difference does this kind of green area actually make?
The damages when flooding is lower, and as regards with drought, basically it's retaining water where it is, and it...
Yeah, exactly, and it lowers the temperature in the cities. And you've talked about this solution on multiple occasions. And it does have a multi-pronged effect of helping mitigate the effects of flooding, while also helping during peak heat and drought times, because there's more places for water to stay. With trees, it adds shade, keeping the ground cooler, reducing the amount of evaporation, and so on and so forth. Okay, what's next? Oh, right, that was the end of the climate coverage. Okay, well, I guess it's that time. I hope you've all been enjoying the show so far. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. They really help out. Still gotta get to 500 YouTube subscribers to get this goddamn channel to be monetized. YouTube still refuses to pay me. So what you can do is help subscribe to the channel. Yeah. If you've done both of those and you're still thinking to yourself, I want to do more, well, thanks. I appreciate that. And I got a great idea for you. You can become a Galactic patron on Patreon. For just a few US dollars, you can get access to a whole bunch of different and amazing galactic benefits. Anyway, chat, grab yourselves a drink, perhaps a snack, and I'll be right back.
We've been talking about saving the Amazon for 30 years. Almost 30 years ago, Sting held a concert to save the Amazon right here in New York. And we're still talking about it. The world's largest rainforest, the Amazon, is crucial to any climate change solution for its capacity to sequester carbon, for its biodiversity, for its fresh water, for the air we breathe.
All right,
for our
I'm back.
Morality, and it is on fire. When a room in your house is on fire, you don't say there's a fire in the room in my house.
I took a bullet for democracy.
And we only have one house.
Okay. Calling all space fams. Final third of the Galactic stream incoming.
And what we've done to preserve the Amazon, what we worked so hard.
Where are we going to start today, huh? Well, I think we'll start in England. Yeah, let's start in England with this. This is Keir Starmer, the new Prime Minister of the UK government, speaking on green growth. It's from Reuters from 14 hours ago.
Keir Starmer's growth plans can start with Britain's pampered savers. To take the brakes off Britain, the new UK Prime Minister needs infrastructure investment in areas like wind farms. A smarter and fairer policy on savings might help.
I'm sorry, this is not him. I don't know why in my head. I think it's because of the title. Or not the title, the thumbnail for this is Keir Starmer.
Ideas for improving the UK's
Tiny mistake.
Their investment rate have tended to focus on shaking up domestic pensions, yet that will likely take time. A quicker fix would be to do more with Britain's personal savings market, which has two problems. The government wastes a lot of money on superfluous tax incentives for wealthy savers, and the resulting cash pile is poorly invested. Take individual savings accounts, which allow UK citizens to invest £20,000 a year in cash or shares and shelter it from income.
Okay, this is not about green energy. Just that first part. And yeah, they do need to invest in green energy and not more methane, no more fracking, which is what they've been doing recently, which is not good. Let's go on to this other story. In the UK. This is from the Guardian News from 12 hours ago. This is a snippet from inside of Parliament, where an MP brought to light some of the Tories' spending.
So 2.5 years after the previous government launched it, I can report it has already cost the British taxpayer £700 million in order to send just 4 volunteers. Those costs include £290 million payments to Rwanda, chartering flights that never took off, detaining hundreds of people and then releasing them, and paying for more than 1,000 civil servants to work on the scheme. A scheme to send 4 people. It is the most shocking waste of taxpayers' money I have ever seen. Looking forward, the costs are set to get worse. Even if the scheme had ever got going, it's clear it would only cover a minority of arrivals. Yet a substantial portion of future costs were fixed costs. For example, the annual direct payments to Rwanda, the contracts for escorts, the staffing in the Home Office, the detention and reception centres and more. So the taxpayer would still have to pay out no matter how few people were relocated. And most shocking of all, over the 6 years of the Migration and Economic Development Partnership forecast, the previous government had planned to spend over £10 billion.
Damn. So yeah, if you were not aware of this fact, the Tory government under under Rishi Sunak had started a plan in which they were just going to ship off all asylum seekers and new potential immigrants to UK to Rwanda. They had come up with a deal with Rwanda, gave Rwanda already $250 million, and then spent an additional $450 million on the, what do you call it, the sort of supposed facilitation of all of this, but only essentially deported 4 people who wanted to go to Rwanda. Wasn't even really what they had set out to do. Not that I agree with what they set out to do, but it's shocking just how much money was spent on this idiotic plan and how much they were planning on spending to further it. 10 billion. Just wow. Okay. Now we are going to leave Britain. Gonna go east to Asia. Got a number of stories to cover there. First, we'll go to Bangladesh, where one of the students who was injured in the recent protests over the controversial jobs quota system spoke and reacted after Bangladesh's top court decided to scale that very system back, which we heard about yesterday happening.
মানসিকভাবে আমি ট্রমার ভিতরে আছি।
I am mentally traumatized. I think a different kind of trauma is being staged, seeking to foil the protest by focusing on the coordinators of the students' anti-discrimination movement. I was a victim of enforced disappearance, confusion regarding other student coordinators is being spread in the media. Representatives of the government are creating division among us. Our unity is being destroyed.
এবং নিরাপত্তা সংকট থাকার কারণে আমরা একসাথে বসতে পারছি না, একসাথে আমরা যোগাযোগ করতে পারছি না, ফলে আমাদের সিদ্ধান্ত নিতেও আমাদের সমন্বয়হীনতা দেখা যাচ্ছে।
And also, he didn't mention it, but there's also the enforced curfew right now with shoot on sight orders for military and police. So that would also make it difficult for organizers to get together and to communicate amidst the supposed pulling back of this system. Does seem like they are really trying to crack down on people doing democracy. Okay, let's go on here. This is interesting news, as we've been talking about the rate environment, that being interest rate environment around the world, as you know, and in the United States. Let's see what's going on in China, as according to Reuters from 20 hours ago, China, surprisingly, for everyone in the financial sector, I guess, decided to cut rates to boost its fragile economy. Could be a trend starting here.
China wrapped up its plain and policy meeting last week with a warning from officials that the economy faced a bumpy road ahead. On Monday came signs of a response. The country's central bank surprised markets with cuts to key rates. Among other moves, benchmark loan prime rates were lowered by 0.1 percentage point. The official Xinhua news agency cited a source close to the bank saying it was a decisive move to hit growth targets. Analysts say the cuts come amid signs that economic momentum is flagging. Headwinds include an intractable crisis in the country's vast property market.
Yeah.
China has seen home sales and prices slide as giant...
Now, we have seen interest rate cuts happen both, I think, was it the ECB and in Canada as it relates to like the Western banks. And you still have yet to see the Federal Reserve in the United States cut interest rates. And it's a complicated environment out there right now. Everybody seems to be trying to solve things by way of interest rate manipulation. Whether it will is yet to be seen. It's from the Dodo. Oh, you're talking about a shark video? We will here. I will hold this title. I will copy this. We'll watch it tomorrow during. Wait, what's tomorrow? Do I have a show tomorrow? We'll watch it on the next show for sure. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see what my schedule permits tomorrow. But yeah, I'll add that to the environmental video list. Okay. Now let's go to this. In Taiwan, where they have begun their annual exercises. Their annual military exercises here in Hong Kong. Not to be confused with Hong Kong. Sorry, you probably didn't hear me. Not to be confused with Hong Kong. It's Hong Kong. At least I think that's how you say it. Now this is a totally normal thing in Taiwan. They do this every year, apparently. I believe there is a military base right here, and this I wouldn't say is necessarily an example of any escalations happening right now in the region that as we've certainly been talking about them. But this isn't really adding to that list. It's just a continuation of the sort of military stuff happening there. It happens regularly. Yes, I do remember when Trump wanted a military parade. And that it would have destroyed the streets of DC. Yeah, no kidding. Tank tracks aren't exactly great on cobblestone streets and stuff. Although they're not all cobblestone. There's some regular streets there too. Just regular, just streets in general. They're not good. But hey, freedom. Okay, one last story in Asia here. Let's go north to South Korea. North to South Korea, and look at this. We've been talking about this strike, although my ability to cover this is a bit, what's the word? Hampered by how much the rest of the media covers it, since I don't speak Korean. But this worker strike at Samsung's electronics has been going on now for at least a couple weeks, if not maybe longer. And they still are striking, asking for higher pay and more benefits. I have no idea what they're saying. I assume it's something like, chaebol are bad, Samsung treats us like peasants, and we deserve better pay. That's my guess. Okay, and that's a big-ass line. Holy shit. For a second, it didn't look like that many people, and then I like kind of looked back into the vanishing point of this, the horizon of this video, and you can see they clearly go back for like practically an entire, like, oh my god, wow. It's like 100 yards or longer. Okay. Alright, now that's gonna wrap it up for this, well, technically, it doesn't actually wrap it up for Asia. Because the Middle East, I mean, it's on a continent, and technically that continent is Asia. So let's stay on Asia, but go back to the Middle East. First, I think we'll go to this one from Democracy Now! Discussing the recent ICJ ruling, which declared Israel's occupation of the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza as illegal. They had on Diana Butu to discuss.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, War, Peace, and the Presidency. I'm Amy Goodman. We end today's show in The Hague, where the International Court of Justice has ruled Israel's occupation of the West Bank and East Jerusalem as illegal, should come to an end, quote, as rapidly as possible, unquote. Israel's illegal military occupation of the territories began in 1967, has since forcefully expanded, killing and displacing thousands of Palestinians. ICJ presiding judge Nawaf Salam read the non-binding legal opinion Friday, deeming Israel's presence in the territories illegal.
Israel must immediately cease all new settlement activity. Israel also has an obligation to repeal all legislation and measures creating or maintaining the unlawful situation, including those which discriminate against the Palestinian people and the occupied Palestinian territory, as well as all measures aimed at modifying the demographic composition of any parts of the territory. Israel is also under an obligation to provide full reparations for the damage caused by its internationally wrongful acts to all natural or legal persons concerned.
The court also said other nations are obligated not to legally recognize Israel's decades-long occupation.
DC was laid out badly on purpose so that the invading enemy would get lost. True. I actually have heard that, and if you ever look at the way it's laid out, it is nonsensical.
Of the territories and, quote, not to render aid or assistance, unquote, to the occupation. The 15-judge panel said Israel has no right to sovereignty of the territories and pointed to a number of Israeli actions, such as the construction and violent expansion of illegal Israeli settlements across West Bank and East Jerusalem, the forced permanent control over Palestinian lands, and discriminatory policies against Palestinians, all violations of international law, they said. The Palestinian Foreign Minister, Riyad al-Maliki, praised Friday's ruling.
All states and the UN are now under obligation not to recognize the legality of Israel's presence in the occupied Palestinian territory and to do nothing to assist Israel in maintaining this.
Yeah, hold on. We can't watch this whole thing. But yeah, the ICJ declaring in legal terms that Israel's doing a bunch of illegal shit. Let's go ahead to the interview portion of this, as I think many of our viewers are probably aware of that happening. Because we have covered it already. But since Democracy Now!, of course, you know me, I can barely turn down a Democracy Now! Video. It's very difficult for me to do.
Butu, Palestinian human rights attorney, former advisor to the negotiating team of the Palestine Liberation Organization. Thank you so much for being with us. Diana, first respond to this court ruling, since it is non-binding. What is the significance of it?
Even though it's non-binding, Amy, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have any weight. It simply means that Israel's going to ignore it. But what it does set is it sets out the legal precedent for other countries, and those other countries do have to respect the opinion of the highest court, the highest international court. And so what we see with this decision is that it's a very important and a very necessary one, because we see the court makes it clear not only that Israel's occupation is illegal, but it also says that all countries around the world have an obligation to make sure that Israel doesn't get away with it, that they have an obligation to make sure that this occupation comes to an end. And this is very important because over the years, and in particular over the past 30 years, we've seen a shift in international diplomacy to try to push Palestinians to somehow give up their rights. And here we have the highest international court saying that that isn't the case, and that in fact it's up to Israel to end its military occupation, and it's up to the international community to make sure that Israel does that.
And exactly what is the extent?
Yeah, I think that's a good place to stop it. It is up to the international community to ensure that Israel does that. That being ending its illegal occupation of all of Palestine, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza. Did I miss anything? I don't know. I think that's all. Okay, what's next? Oh God. All right, this is just a continuation of a story that we looked at not yesterday. Well, technically yesterday now, because it's getting late. This is from the Associated Press from 18 hours ago. Netanyahu plans to meet with Joe Biden in the United States to thank him for all the things he did for Israel.
Illegal.
I plan to see President Biden, whom I've known for over 40 years. This will be an opportunity to thank him for the things he did for Israel in the war and during his long and distinguished career in public service as senator, as vice president, and as president. It will also be an opportunity to discuss with him how to advance in the critical months ahead the goals that are important for both our countries. Achieving the release of all our hostages, defeating Hamas, confronting the terror axis of Iran.
It is ridiculous that he claims that getting back the hostages is one of his goals. That has not been one of his goals. He's done nothing to ensure the safety of the hostages. He's refused all ceasefire deals which would have gotten back the hostages. And it's just, another example of good old Netanyahu style gaslighting. I know we watched part of that earlier. But just want to remind everybody that he will be here within the next 24 hours, at least from what I can tell. And will be speaking in Congress this week. If I'm not mistaken, I think I have the dates right. I think it'll be Friday. All right. I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong, somebody correct me. But all right, it's happening very soon, and I honestly have been saying for I think months now that we should have turned that invitation into a sorry, but we got other stuff to do that night. Just stay in Israel type of deal, because I mean, the ICC wants to arrest him. The ICJ says that he's committed war crimes and a probable genocide. They just reaffirmed that him and his government are illegally occupying Palestinian land. I mean, it's just, why would we bring him to speak at Congress? Bringing someone to speak at Congress is a way of rewarding someone. It's a way of saying that what they have to say is important, and that the rest of the all of America should hear what they have to say, essentially, right? And I think that's absolutely the opposite message of what we should be sending, especially especially with the stories that we have to cover next. This shit is ridiculous right here. And I would wager that some people haven't heard this one yet. Here is a very disturbing piece from 7 hours ago out of Channel 4 News. According to them, the Israeli military has ordered 400,000 residents to leave Khan Yunis, and they are using the word residents very loosely, as all of those people essentially are living in tents. And if for whatever reason you're struggling to keep track of all these names, Khan Yunis is the place, at least one of the places, that people were told to go after being told to evacuate Rafah, the place which they were told to evacuate to before that. And just another example of the utter nonsense happening right now.
Where to run? Where's safe? Gunshots ring out. Children scream in terror. There's chaos, panic. Help us, God, help us, O Arabs, he screams.
This is my grandson. I don't know where his mother is. He's just 20 days old. What can I do with him now? Where can I go with him? Where can I find his mother and father? Please tell me where to search. We're tired. We can't cope anymore.
This is so upsetting.
The stream of people fleeing looks endless. Close to 500,000 Gazans ordered to leave their already destroyed homes by the Israeli army as they launch a fresh assault on Khan Yunis, accusing Hamas of firing rockets from the area. A brother pulls along his sister, too weak to walk.
Oh my God. Oh, Jesus Christ. Do you see her fucking legs? Oh my God. Of course she can't walk. She's completely emaciated.
Little legs struggle to keep up in the heat. An elderly woman sits down on the side of the road. Is it better to die here than keep on running and running?
Human-made tragedy.
Amongst the crowd, 3 young siblings. We saw many people who were dead in front of us. Their stomachs were cut open, he says. We don't know where our parents are now. Are we in a safe place now, one asks. Thank God, he sighs.
God.
But where to go now? The so-called humanitarian zone Israel has told them to flee to has been repeatedly targeted too.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen like 3 different strikes between Khan Yunis and Al-Mawasi, which is directly adjacent to Khan Yunis and is the official name for the refugee camp there. We can't watch this whole thing right now, but I just wanted to make you all aware of this. And it's honestly, it's difficult, but I think it's really important to keep track of this active ethnic cleansing that's happening before our eyes internally inside of Palestine. I mean, I think, you know, the number of times that people have been asked to move, ask is a very nice word for me to use, forced to move, is in itself a form of torture. Okay. This is from 10 hours ago, Global News. Gaza medic pleads for aid after Israeli strike kills at least 37. every single day. Double-digit figures of people being killed
We
in
are
strikes.
swimming in a pool of blood, actually. Situation in Nasser Medical Complex is out of control. Actually, we lost control over dealing with cases. We have been receiving hundreds of casualties and mortalities within or during 3 hours. Our situation is very bad. We need to be supported by medical supplies and instruments. Tens of cases are on the floors. We don't find beds to place patients on. We don't find enough supplies to give health services to our patients. The situation is very hard.
We are tired. We are tired in Gaza every day. Our children are martyred every day. Every moment. This is the blood of our children. This is not what remains under the houses and is piles, and no one told us to evacuate. They brought down 4 floors on civilians. No one told us to evacuate. While we were displaced all night, while houses are being bombed, the ones they could reach, they bring to the morgue. This is horrifying. This poor old lady right here, she must be in her 80s. How's she supposed to get around without having people literally pull her? I mean, most vehicles are non-functional right now. I mean, we see a couple of cars here and there, but there's very little in the way of access to gasoline. In fact, practically non-existent. We all know the reason for that, I think, which is the blockade, which has been in place now for nearly a year. Now let's look at this. This is, oh shit. This is our penultimate video of the evening. That is a round of applause for you viewers who made it this far. Great job. I'm impressed by your resilience. Now, this should have been before, according to the way I usually do these videos, but I guess it doesn't matter all that much. This is from a day ago. This is regarding the recent back and forth strikes that have been happening between Hezbollah. I'm so sorry. Between the Houthis and Israel. If you're unaware, the Houthis hit Tel Aviv with a unarmed drone about 2 or 3 days ago. Within 12 hours, Israel responded by striking a port in Yemen. And then this is the most recent thing I've got on this. This is from the Guardian News. According to them, a Houthi ballistic missile was just intercepted over Israel. Directly, well, not directly, but shortly after the Hodeidah strikes. And Hodeidah is the name of the port which was hit. It's in the air. Do you see it? Look at the sky. I do see it.
לא, זה חץ.
בוא'נה, זה עף עכשיו לכיוון ירדן, לכיוון מזרח. כן, כן.
Okay, so apparently that missile was intercepted by Israel. Did not hit any intended target. But it truly has now turned into a multi-pronged, all-out war, it would seem, for Israel. Not just what they're doing in Gaza, but as it relates to Hezbollah, as it relates to the Houthis. Things do feel like the temperature has been turned up drastically in those particular circumstances right now. Alright, here's the last one. This is from 9 hours ago. This is an update to that attack on Khan Yunis, as that previous video said 37. Well, this one from TRT World from 9 hours ago says that at least 57 Palestinians were killed in the recent strikes on Khan Yunis, the place we were just fucking talking about.
Khan Yunis is no longer safe. That's according to Israeli officials who told Gazans to leave the refugee camp in the south of the Strip only minutes before the attacks began.
We're being displaced 3 times a week. We're
you know what? It's honestly... It is just... Oh, God, I struggled to find the words when we get to this time, because it's just also just abhorrent to me. But it is truly... It's practically just a waste of energy in my mind. If you're going to strike people within minutes after telling them to leave, in no reality that makes any fucking sense at all, where people are actually able to evacuate, does that timeline check out. You can't strike people minutes after telling them to leave. It takes longer. We just saw a video of a fucking 90-year-old woman being dragged in a broken wheelchair across a dirty, destroyed road, right? It takes time. If you're even going to accept the premise of these evacuations. Because it to me just seems like a systemized torture on Palestinians. But if you were to somehow accept all of Israel's premises, you would be still left with these fucking questions. Like, if you're so moral of an army, if you're trying so hard to make sure to avoid civilian casualties, why in the fuck are you bombing people minutes after telling them to leave an area? It takes longer than minutes to evacuate an entire area, but they don't really care. They just care about the optics of it all, not the humanity. Well, we made it through another one. Thanks to all of you. Managed to make it through it. Well, that's gonna be it for me tonight. Till I see you next time. You stay classy, Galactic Stream Nation. Can't forget this. These are your galactic patrons. Gabby, Goth Dogs, Aaron W, Mitty, Afroponics, Gnarl by Nature, Interplanet Janet, PB, Robot Cat, Selena, the anti-corporatist, Owenowip, Nadia, Mrs. Jen, Omega Star, Pitchforks Dragon, Vincent Morales, and Donald James X. That's right. All these people here have helped contribute to the show which your eyes and ears have just gotten done enjoying. You too can help make this show happen by subscribing on Patreon. For just $3 a month. You not only support this show, but gain access to some super sweet space benefits unseen by the rest of the goddamn Milky Way galaxy. Write that down.
Science.
Don't forget to press 1 to engage the super secret late night after hours Galactic chill stream, otherwise this stream might just end right now. Oh no, the stream is fading.